Thomas Paine, Sam Adams, Benjamin Franklin. These men spoke up for what they thought was right. From their courage came such documents as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution of the United States. From their willingness to speak what was sometimes unpopular but right, we enjoy such liberties as freedom of speech, the right to keep and bear arms, and freedom of religion. There are those who still wish to oppress our freedoms, and there are still patriots willing to stand up and defend life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Men like Zeb Bell, who honor our founding fathers and what they stood for. It's now time for Zeb at the ranch, speaking up and defending your freedoms. Brought to you by Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers and all of the other great advertisers on the program. And now, Zeb Bell.
And now, in our continuing quest for words of wisdom, it is said that if you line up all the cars in the world end to end, someone from California would be stupid enough to try to pass them. And also remember this: give a man a fish, and he will eat for a day. Teach a man to fish, and he will sit in a boat all day drinking beer. Good morning, everybody. Here comes Kate Smith and God Bless America, followed by a patriot with our Pledge of Allegiance. Morning, morning, morning. Thank you very much, Kate Smith. God bless America. I certainly hope he will and continue to do so. Welcome to Zeb at the Ranch. I'm Zeb Bell, and we're brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland and Burley with the memory foam pillows. I love my pillow. And, of course, Western Way Services, always at your disposal. Start on the route service for your garbage pickup today. Call Kelly and the crew at 734-6969. Right now, here she is, the one, the only, the Wonder Woman of Magic Valley. Hello, Gina.
Good morning.
There's a guy that's a ventriloquist, and I can't think of his name. I think it's Steve something. And da-da-da-da is the theme song of one of his characters, and I can't think of what that guy's name is.
I have no idea. I'm going to have to Google that one.
Oh yeah, do that, because he's got a character of a guy that's kind of like your trailer park guy, and then he's got another one. It's a pink kind of a character. I can't remember.
Are you thinking Jeff Dunham?
Yes.
Jeff Dunham.
I love that when he has that superhero on there. Da 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 da.
My favorite was Ahmed, the dead terrorist.
Oh my gosh! Yes.
So funny, and Peanut's pretty good too. But Ahmed, the dead terrorist, is funny.
I have seen most of the routines of Dunham and his entourage, but I guarantee you that if given the chance at Vegas or someplace else, I'm going to go pay the money to go watch him again. I just really enjoy his humor.
I have never seen him live, but I would absolutely love to. I love his humor, and I love his puppets that he has. Just so funny. So funny.
Go fishing, sit in the boat. And okay. Hey, have we got a caller?
You're going to have me on for the pledge, and then Michael Rogers on for the wedding.
Well, I can't think of anybody better.
Well, thank you.
There you go.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If that were only the case after what just happened a few moments ago.
And we will be talking about that.
Yes, I will. Thank you very much. Right now, it's time for the weather with MichaelRogersWeather.com, the world's greatest weatherman. Good morning.
Good morning. Hey, everybody. 42 in Murtaugh right now. You got some weather action, but nothing really to write home to Mom about in the Magic Valley for today. Sun and clouds. It'll turn to showers later on. In fact, it'll be off and on showers. You'll come out of it tomorrow, and you're starting to work your way up to a nice weekend. Other than that, temperatures for today. Upper 50s for the daytime high, mid to upper 30s for the overnight low, and that'll carry over all into the weekend. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
Thank you, Michael. MichaelRogersWeather.com. Thank you so much. Hey, you know what we'll do right now? We're going to talk to you a little bit about Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. Spring right around the corner. And don't forget, March 17th is Chick Day. Wrong kind of chick. At Valley White Home and Ranch. We'll be telling you much more about that. You know, why don't you just stop in there some morning on the way to work and have a coffee cup full of hot get-up-and-go juice and a donut. And then, of course, don't forget at lunchtime they got hot soup and sandwiches. And they got all your dog and kitty cat food, along with everything you need for your livestock operation, the farm, the home, and the ranch. Right there with Steve and Mandy and the rest of the crew at Valley White Home and Ranch, 910 South Oneida in Rupert. You stop in and see them today. Yesterday, Deanne talked to Keith Ramsey, and he said, I've got light bulbs. Holy cow, have I got light bulbs. Now, I'm going to tell you something, folks. I mean this when I said it a long time ago, and I went in and got a great big box of incandescent light bulbs that I wanted to have in storage here. The government is not going to have me put those little things in my sockets that absolutely are dangerous and everything else. I'm not going to go that way. Not going to do it. Incandescent light bulbs. They're not a thing of the past. You can stock up right now at Ramsey Heating and Electric. They've got 40, 60, 75, or 100-watt bulbs, and they're waiting for you. Get in there today at Ramsey Heating and Electric at 2600 Overland Avenue in Burley, where they provide warm winters and cool summers. Well, I'm a little bit more than mad. I just got the headlines taken off of the computer, the internet. And also, you probably, for those of you that are news junkies, you probably are following this story. Lois Lerner did it again. She pled the fifth and is not going to testify on the IRS targeting of conservative groups, i.e. the Tea Party. Yet, what does that tell you? What does that tell you? What it tells me, and of course you know I don't like Barack Obama. I'm going to be very honest. For those of you that are tuning in for the first time, I find the man detestable. I find his ideology damaging and very curtailing for America to be progressive and hopefully have a better future. I find the man to be a person that is the worst that we could have sitting in the Oval Office, okay? But when I have these stories in my hand, that Lois Lerner with the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, once again asserted her Fifth Amendment right to not testify, that tells me that people are guilty as sin. It tells me that there's a cover-up that goes all the way up to the Oval Office. It tells me that they're not to be trusted. It tells me that we, the taxpayers, that are paying the bill, are never going to know the truth. It also tells me that on other subjects like Benghazi and like the going after certain newsmen and all the other things like Fast and Furious and other events, it tells me that I've got to be very wary, read between the lines, and not trust the likes of Lois Lerner and others. I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? You and I as taxpayers, the IRS can come in with a thumbs-down attitude on us, and we are guilty until we prove ourselves innocent. And yet these people that are in the hierarchy of the IRS are the same people that are managing Obamacare. Well, wait a minute, that's a bad choice of words. They're trying to manage Obamacare. And we have to kowtow to them. They get special rights and privileges. And then this woman takes the fifth again. I'm outraged. I am absolutely outraged. And Daryl Issa of California is outraged. Even Democrats are outraged that they wasted their time, efforts, and, quite frankly, the taxpayers' money. And she sits down and pleads the Fifth Amendment again. What are your thoughts? Give me a call, 436, or don't you care? 436-2244-1866-927-4587. Barry Equipment and Rental. Now, we've been talking to you about the big Doosan loaders, the Doosan Infracore construction equipment. If you're in the construction business and need the best, look no further than to Barry Rental and Equipment. They've got them all for you right there in Twin Falls and Burley. Doosan, of course, known for their reliability and quality, and get the job done. You better believe it. And you can check out that. You can check out the Coyote tractors. You can check out everything right now at Barry Equipment and Rental in Twin Falls at 465 Addison Avenue West, old Eli and the crew, and in Burley, Nick and Rosie at 159 West Highway 30 in Burley. Please remember Barry Equipment and Rental. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Good morning, Jeb.
Hi, Al.
Well, I figured that had happened, and I'll tell you why. Once you take the fifth, that means you shut up right then and there. But she made comments the first time. Therefore, she, loses that right to the Fifth Amendment. Right?
Yeah, well, right there, stop, because your point is so well taken, and a lot of people have glossed over this. When you take the fifth, those are the words that are supposed to come out of your mouth first and foremost, but she gave all kind of a prelude, if you will, like giving the opening of a book without chapter 1 coming up right away, and then decided to take the fifth the last time, which was illegal, and quite frankly, Al, I don't know why we're putting up with this garbage.
Well, because you got a bunch of people there in the House of Representatives who control the purse strings and the right to contempt of Congress. Why in the hell don't Isa and them guys get on the ball, use the power they've got, and bring her up on contempt charges along with Holder?
Yeah, okay, right there. I agree with you. I absolutely emphatically say yes, bring her on contempt charges. But, Al, here is the problem, and I don't think you're going to disagree with me. I don't care if it's this issue. I don't care if it's Benghazi. I don't care if it's now the Ukrainian situation. There are no guts to be found on either side of the aisle in Washington, D.C.
That's right, and it's time to have Mr. Clean come along and let's clean houses of both places.
I couldn't agree more, but, what does this tell you? Honestly, quickly tell me. As a taxpayer, when this woman sits down again and pleads the Fifth Amendment not to testify on the possibility of self-incrimination, what does it tell you?
It tells me that the justice is also blind and also deaf.
And we, the taxpayers,
are dumb.
Are putting up with it. Yes, yep. That's right. Al, God bless you, man. Thanks.
Have a good one.
Thank you, sir. He's right spot on. Right spot on. Why do we put up with this? Why are we putting up with this? I can hear the microphone opening up.
Well, I was just reading through the story, and what I find shocking is this. Last week, Lerner's lawyer by the name of William Taylor made a public letter in which he told the committee that she would testify on Capitol Hill only if compelled by a federal court or given immunity for the testimony. So what does that tell you?
Yeah, and one of his quotes in the same story I believe that you're referring to, he said, for her to take the risk, now remember that word, for her to take the risk inherent in waiver of her Fifth Amendment privilege, she would need assurance she is resolving her issues with the committee. In other words, she's asking for somebody to wash her squeaky clean.
So there's more to this story than we know, which is very, very concerning because this is the IRS.
Gina, you're a single mother. You pay your taxes, you work hard, you do everything you need to do to make a living. Certainly you must feel like me, an old man right now, that I'm so incensed with anger over these people that are not, they're not treating us, the taxpayers, in a respectful manner by giving forth the information necessary so that guilty parties can be held accountable.
I know, and check it out. Guess who's making their paycheck?
Yeah.
You and me?
Yeah. And here's the ambiguity of this situation that I don't think a lot of people realize. Do you really want, and I know you've had questions about your insurance coverage, and Deanna's had questions about her insurance coverage because of Obamacare. Mm-hmm. These are the same people with the IRS, these absolute nincompoops that are defiant of laws and regulations that are going to be handling Obamacare.
I know, and I still can't get verified. I still, since October, cannot get verified. And that's just asinine to me. You've got a phone call.
All right, I'll take it in just a minute. I got to pay some bills here real quick. Caller, stand by. Don't forget Denny's Restaurant at 611 North Overland in Burley. And kids eat free on Tuesdays from 4 to 6 p.m. What do you mean eat free? That's what I mean. Visit your local Denny's right there at 611 North Overland in Burley. Oh, my gosh, they treat the families right. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and also it's the home of Zeb's Lunch Bunch. We are very happy to be there with Thomas and the rest of the crew. Wow, it has been phenomenal. You'll love the food and the service at Denny's Restaurant, 611 North Overland in Burley. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, good morning, Zeb. With this present administration and what's going on up there in Washington, D.C., with all this corruption, the downfall of America is in sight right now.
I don't want to get that negative, Tony, but I can't argue with you. I mean, we've got a president that is absolutely milquetoast. After what I have seen and heard and watched on the way he handles foreign relations and this absolute debacle with Putin over in Russia invading the Ukraine, I can't argue with you. I have to take your side, but I don't want to admit that we've seen our best days and they're over our shoulder.
Well, I hope we got a new bunch going into Washington, D.C. in this next election, because if we get 4 more years of Democratic administration, I'm afraid we're going to be in real danger.
Oh, I couldn't agree more. I couldn't agree more. I mean, if the 14 elections keep the Senate on the Democratic side to just basically cozy up and fluff the pillow for Obama, I'm with you. It's absolutely, it's horror time.
Well, I've spoken to a lot of people down at the mall when I'm waiting for Mary to get done, and I'm telling you, a lot of people out there don't know what's going on. Either that or it's just plain brain dead.
Why is that? I blame kids a lot of times for not understanding what's going on in our society with the man on the street interviews, and a lot of the 18, 20, 24-year-olds look like the burned out light bulb when you ask them a question. But that's not fair, because there's a lot of people my age, your age, etc. They don't follow it either, and they really don't seem to be concerned. Why?
Well, there's too many distractions out there. You've got all this stuff coming in over the TV, sports and football, baseball, and these fun games that are going on over the TV, and they're not paying attention to they're being distracted from what's happening in real life.
I agree, but I don't know, Tony. I wanted to retire. I wanted to sit back and take it easy, and I've made a commitment to stay doing this job as long as it's profitable and as long as it's worthwhile. But I get doggone frustrated as to the blasé attitude of the American public.
Well, right now, Mary and I are really disgusted, and that was like a lot of other people out there, and it seems like we're almost destined to go down the tubes, and that isn't a good feeling to have.
No, I agree with you. I totally agree. Tony, God bless you and your lovely wife, Mary, and hopefully we can get together real soon, okay?
Sounds good to me.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Bye.
Hey, Rogge Auctions, Cade and the rest of the crew, they're going to have a great big auction coming up this Saturday. Yes, sirree, March 8th at 11 a.m. at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds. It is the big spring cleanup sale. This is going to be a ripping good sale. They've got tractors, they've got vehicles, they've got guns, they've got all kinds of miscellaneous items, and I talked to Cade the other day, and he said, Zeb, we got some really neat wagons, like one of them, a Surrey wagon with the tassels and the wood wheels and everything, and a chuck wagon and a feed wagon all wired and ready to go. For more information, call Cade at 431-0074. Rogge Auctions Big Spring Cleanup Sale this Saturday, March 8th, 11 a.m. at the Minidoka County Fairgrounds. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Yes, Zeb. I'll tell you, one thing that's wrong with the country, we've lost our patriotism. People don't care anymore about anything, about what they can get in their hand. They got their hand out for everything they can grab, and they don't care about the politicians. Let them just, they don't worry about the country.
Let me tell you something, my dear friend. It's not just that we've lost our patriotism. I honestly believe, and if somebody's offended by this, I don't care. We've lost our faith. We've lost our faith in God. We've lost our faith in going to church on Sunday. We've lost our faith in the Ten Commandments. We've lost our faith. And right along with patriotism, those two things I think are essential for what made America great.
Well, you're dead right there, too. There's no question about that. The people, they live from day to day.
Yeah, I just don't understand what's going to happen, Fred. I get here on the radio, and I get these emails. This will drive you nuts. I get these emails about, oh, man, you're such a staunch right-winger, and you're always up on a soapbox and all this. Fred, I'm trying to wake the doggone people up. What's the matter with them?
I don't know. I feel the same way, Zeb. As you well know, I study the politics. That's about all I get done on the computer and the TV.
I know that, and I respect you for it. I absolutely respect you for it. But when you sit back and you hear stories that are coming across like the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, and the sleaze that is involved in the IRS, that they won't testify, they won't answer questions. Fred! They'd never let you sit there and not answer those questions. They'd throw you in a 6x8 room.
Well, they'd hang me from a thin string. Now, there's no question about it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am so incensed that as a taxpayer, we have to put up with this garbage. And that's what it is, garbage. Whether it's the Department of Justice with Eric Holder covering up for all the gun-running scams into Mexico, whether it's this with the IRS, whether it's the cover-up of Benghazi, or whether it's the absolute stupidity of this administration on foreign affairs, which we don't have a foreign affairs program. I'm fed up with this.
Well, I am, too. You know, this hasn't happened in past administrations.
Not to this extent, no.
No, not to this extent.
Never.
That's it. Boy, we've got to get rid of this. If we don't, we're done.
Well, let me ask you, and I got to do a break here, but I want you to answer this question. You've been around a long time and have listened to a lot of politicians, but really, this little mealy-mouthed, mousy-looking Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid getting up in front of the television cameras with his little whining voice and calling Americans that have had Obamacare nightmares liars, and calling the Koch brothers un-American because of their support for conservatism. How do you get away with that garbage?
I don't know. I'd like to string the little feller up in the rope. I can't believe how he's lasted as long as he has.
I don't either. Fred, God bless you, and take care. I hope you're feeling better.
I am feeling well, real good.
All right. Take care, my friend. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Bye.
Travel Loop Supply with my buddy Jim and the rest of the crew. I tell you what, old Jim McCall, straight shooter. Absolutely a straight shooter. You will not find a nicer guy anywhere. You can look, and you can really look, and you'll never find a nicer person. Travel Loop Supply, 1050 West, 203 South of Hayburn, 438-8730. They deliver the goods. Have bolts will travel. If you need your bolt bins filled up, by golly, they'll take care of it. And they've also got the bolt bins if you don't have them. And they've got all those filters, and like Jim said last week, for the older equipment and the newer equipment, up to 90% off on filters. Woo! And bubble ropes, 10% off. You're going to get stuck in the mud. You got a bubble rope. There you go, Travel Loop Supply. They deliver the goods, 438-8730. Here now, the Capital Press Ag Minute.
Today's Ag Minute brought to you by the Capital Press, the West Ag Weekly.
Drought and growing exports have affected U.S. hay prices for the past 3 marketing years. And while drought has subsided in much of the country in the 2013-2014 marketing year, it is still being felt in the West. That, along with strong exports, are expected to keep hay prices strong in the West, experts say. California produces 7% of the country's hay. A huge drop in production could affect hay prices as far east as Kansas. Western states, all of which are experiencing some level of drought, typically grow more alfalfa than other hay. As a result, alfalfa prices will be impacted more than other hay prices. Opportunities to export expensive, high-quality alfalfa are really good for Pacific Northwest states.
For more agriculture news and information, turn to the West Ag Weekly, the Capital Press, and capitalpress.com.
Thank you very much. Welcome back. Calls are welcome and appreciated at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. I want to tell you how unprofessional I think this president is and how frivolously stupid his staff is. We'll talk about that in just a moment. Pro Paint, 1116 Overland and Burley with the Rancliffe family. Man, I'll tell you what, they're celebrating 25 years in the paint business. 25 years, and they've got some great deals for you. Pittsburgh paint is on sale. Industrial paint for farm equipment. Custom and stock colors available. The best paint, the best stains, and the best advice. Barbara and Brian really want to help you at Pro Paint. 1116 Overland and Burley. Big 25th anniversary sale going on right now. You stop in today. You know, the president, and regardless of past or present, should look and sound presidential, and especially the looking and sounding presidential. And yesterday, and I picked up on this when it happened, and it was featured last night. Caller, stand by. I'll be with you in a second. Don't get nervous. I picked up on it when it happened, and it was featured as a negative on some of the talk shows last night. But Obama was going to make a comment about Putin and the possible invasion of the Ukraine, and he was speaking at a school when he was asked to hurry up and make a remark about this for the national news media, because the national news was clamoring as to where Obama is and why he hadn't said anything. So he's speaking at a school. So what did they do? They brought in a podium really fast and a microphone and left him in the classroom. Instead of maybe moving to the office of the principal or something that had an American flag and all this behind him, etc. And he stood there in the classroom with all the classroom drawings and everything up on the wall and standing on an A, B, C, D, E, F, G rug. I mean, you talk about looking silly and completely out of place. That's our president. Good morning, you're on the air.
Good morning, Zeb. You know, what's rotten at the top is horrible at the bottom. They've given the IRS a ton more power with this health care thing. And, you know, they're not accountable to anybody. The people aren't going to tell you the truth, or anyway, I don't expect them to tell you the truth. I don't think they've got anybody that works there that's honest. They've got total power. Why do they need to be?
Yeah, as a taxpayer, I am really offended by the idiocy and incompetency of the IRS, but yet they have this holy grail. They're up on the mountaintop. We have to bow in reverence to them. We are guilty until we prove ourselves innocent, and I've had enough of this garbage.
Well, I agree with you 100%, and I have an ulterior motive in calling you. I don't know if you got my email.
I did, real quick, Jerry. Yeah, I did. Coming up in March 13th, the Keepers of the Faith Quartet, Apostolic House of Prayer, 100 East Baseline in Rupert, free will offering, and these guys can sing.
Boy, I'll tell you, I've listened to them this morning on my computer, and they are great.
Well,
it's a wonderful singing group, and they're a Christian group. I would sure like to see some of the audience there.
All right, Jerry. Well, we'll keep pumping it.
It's a free will offering, so you know it's what you want to give.
All right, we'll keep pumping it for you, my friend, and thank you for your call.
You bet. You have a wonderful day, and hey, you did a good subject this morning.
All right. I appreciate it, Jerry. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
You bet. Bye-bye.
There's something else about the Secretary of State, John Kerry. You know, here we go again. I thought John Kerry was the sorriest excuse for a senator. I thought John Kerry was the sorriest excuse for a possible nomination and ended up getting it as Secretary of State. And I'm going to tell you why I absolutely detest this man and what he's doing as Secretary of State in just a moment. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, good morning, Zeb. You know, it's really sad. All the controls are coming down, and big money and so forth. And Kerry, you know, I mean, Teresa Hines, I mean, the guy is a total buffoon. But folks, some of us like alternative or choose choices in medical care. And there's a bill that's been introduced, and Fred Wood is the chairman of the Health and Welfare Committee at state, Representative Fred Wood right there in this area. And there's a bill, 566, that would stop all alternative care through naturopathic doctors and so forth. Of course, it's produced, Big Pharma and the Idaho Medical Association are pushing this bill because they don't want any competition. And believe me, folks, we need all the competition we can in this healthcare field. So get hold of Fred Wood and tell him to not let that bill out of committee.
I haven't read the bill, but I will be reading the bill, and I will be commenting on the bill. And until I do, I'm not going to have any more on the program regarding it until I finally read it and find out what's all in it. But I certainly do appreciate your comments. But now that I got you on the phone, give me a short answer to this. Short answer. Sure. With all that's happening overseas with the Ukrainian situation and President Obama and his lack of doing anything. Adrian, yesterday we reported on this program, and it was true. 2 days ago, when the Ukrainian situation was at a real critical verge of having the infiltration of Russian troops into the Ukraine, where was our president? He wasn't in the Oval Office. He wasn't observing anything to do with that mess. He was at a Democratic fundraiser doing nothing but barbing the GOP and diminishing anybody on the other side of the aisle. That's not leadership, Adrian.
Oh, no, the guy's he's totally an amateur. I mean, he's a community organizer, hasn't a clue about world politics or anything. You and I know more about world politics and world history, and we're doomed to repeat it. But Putin realizes how weak the European Union and Great Britain, nobody has any backbone. It's like the jellyfish. There's no brains and no backbone running our country.
Well, I agree with that, and I'll check that bill out, and I'll be back on the air with it. And thank you for your call. I got to go. Thanks much.
560.
I got it. Thanks, buddy. I want to get back real quick to Secretary of State Kerry in Kiev, Ukraine. Now, you know what? You folks have got to listen to what is being spent out of your pocket. Out of your pocket. Every single time we, the United States, have John Kerry, or prior to that Hillary Clinton, or anyone else, Obama, say, we will send you this. We will send you and provide this aid. That is money out of your pocket and mine as taxpayers. Now, yesterday, John Kerry, and I guess maybe it's easy to say because, the government can basically dictate what we're going to pay for, but he offered a $1 billion loan guarantee to the Ukrainians for reparations. Now that sounds all well and good. Oh, gee, the United States, Secretary of State, they're going to help us with reparations to the tune of $1 billion. But wait a minute, stop the bus for a second, pull over to the side of the road. We, the United States, and we, the taxpayers, are always on the hook for money to go and repair for another madman's destruction. And I'm fed up with it. Why? Why do we, the United States taxpayers, in good faith, always have to say, here is my hard-earned dollars. Here are the fruits of my labors. Because of somebody else's destruction. Somebody else is wanting to take over and rule the world, i.e. Putin. But we pay for it. I've had enough. How about you? Calls welcome, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. We are in the process of finalizing, and I say this because I talked to the people last night, and I'm almost lead pipe cinch sure that it's a done deal, that next Monday, and Gina doesn't even know about this until right now, excuse me, we are going to have on our program next Monday morning Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North. and we had to jump through some hoops and take care of some things yesterday to finalize everything. But we believe that Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North will be on our program next Monday morning at 10:06 for approximately a 12-minute segment, and of course that leads up to where he will be speaking at 7 p.m. at the King Fine Arts Center in Burley on April the 12th, and for the benefit of the Chris Workman Scholarship Fund, and we're going to stay on top of this. But Gina, I'm sorry I didn't tell you earlier. To be honest with you, I forgot.
That's okay, but I'm excited. I was kind of hoping that you were going to get him on the air because I knew that he was going to be coming here, so I had that in the back of my mind, and so thank you.
You know, this sounds bad to say it this way, but I think you will concur, and you've worked with me now for altogether, 4 or 5 years? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know that we, and I say we, Deanna and I, have really put forth a lot of effort to get every top name in the news, worldly and nationally, on this program. Yeah. And I'm not going to quit on that, but there's not another program anywhere in the state of Idaho, and I mean that, anywhere in the state of Idaho, that has the caliber of guests that we have on this program. And when they say yes, Oliver North and others, to coming on this show, I think that's a great tribute to what we're trying to do and the audience that's going to be listening.
Agreed. Totally agreed with that. And when I saw that he was coming to our area, I had it in the back of my mind. I was going to talk to you about that, and of course, obviously, my mind being feeble, I didn't remember. But I'm glad that he is going to be coming onto the show, and I am very, very happy that you and Deanne were able to solidify that.
Yeah, and I want to say a little thank you here to my lovely bride, Deanne, because we've had to, like I said, jump through a lot of hoops and talk to a lot of people and follow a lot of leads and everything, and it's people I don't think realize in this business how much work and effort it takes, not just from me but from everybody, to get some of these people on the air.
It's not an easy task, and it's like, okay, your people are going to talk to my people, and then you have to talk to more people, and then get higher up in the echelon to talk to the people you really want to talk to before you get to the person that is really the goal.
That's right, exactly. But anyhow, it looks like we've basically 95% sure that Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North will be on our program next Monday morning at 10:06.
Awesome.
All right. Do we have any calls?
Nope.
Oh, let's get some. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a jingle. I would love to hear from you. Oh, by the way, Gina, real quick.
Yes.
Following up on a story that we ran yesterday about this teenage girl.
I just read it.
Okay, the judge is denying the request for the parents to give her the money.
Yes.
And
he's siding with the mom and the dad.
Did you see the mom and the dad and the girl in the courtroom? I did. And here's what I saw, and if you differ in your opinion as a mom, go ahead and give me your opinion, okay?
Okay.
But basically what it was, mom and dad were sitting at one end of the table, separated with their lawyer, and on the other end of the table was this girl and her lawyer. And here's how I see and perceive this story, and if you see it differently, I'd welcome your opinion. I see this story as a girl that, yes, she had her car at 18 and she was making payments on it. Yes, she was working, and yes, she was a great student. But on the other side of the coin, just because she thought she was 18, she thought she could go and come anytime she wanted to, 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning. She thought she could do anything as far as a lifestyle was concerned. And mom and dad said, not while you're in this house. You will abide by our rules. You will have a curfew. You will come in at a decent time. And you will not do certain things, which I stand for as a parent. And she had her backbone up and thought, no, I'm Little Miss Perfect. I'll do what I want. So she sued her mom and dad. She lost. And right now, I think it would be great for her to look at her hole card, if this was a poker game, grow up, be thankful, shut up, and appreciate what her mother and father have done for her.
Amen. You know what? From the stories that I have read on this, she was somewhat of a child of privilege. She was spoiled. She was allowed to do a lot of things that a lot of other kids can't do. She goes to a private school, which is very expensive. Mm-hmm. Her parents have footed the bill.
Yep.
But if you're going to be doing this, you do have to follow your parents' rules. They did take the car away.
Yep.
Because the car was in their name, not hers.
That's right.
She left on her own volition when she just a couple days after she turned 18, which, hey, she's an adult just because you're still in high school. And so I'm glad that the judge ruled the way he did, because this could have been a precedent-setting case, and it would have just opened up the floodgates for kids to sue their parents for frivolous reasons. And so I'm really glad that the judge actually stood up and said,
I'll tell you what I think should have happened here. Seriously.
Okay.
There were allegations from both sides, but I have to take the parents' side, looking at the family situation and looking at the mom and the dad, and looking at what other people said about the mom and the dad, and they were highly respected parents, okay? Mm-hmm. I have to look at this as a spoiled little brat that finally needed and got her comeuppance. And I tell you what they should have done instead of hire the lawyers. They should have went to a psychiatrist or a child psychologist and worked this out as a family instead of bringing the law into it.
Exactly. And, oddly enough, the dad is a former police chief.
That's right.
And when this whole case was going about, they had Child Protective Services and Child Health and Welfare go to their home. Home was perfectly fine, and what the caseworker said was, she's a spoiled brat. Case closed.
There you go. There you go. And right now, though, how do you repair this family? Now, I saw a film clip last night, and I got to get the weather on in here, but I want to just say this. They were sitting at the table, and there was a lull in the courtroom procedure. Okay, the dad got up and went over to the daughter and was very gratuitous and said, you could read those lips, and he said, honey, I need to talk to you for a minute. And the girl put her hands out like, get away from me, and got up out of the chair and turned her back on her father. I saw nothing but hatred, animosity, and a spoiled little brat attitude that absolutely needs to be worked on.
I highly agree. And if had that been my child, oh boy, howdy. Just wait until we get out of the courtroom, kid, because I can't say the rest.
There's words I can't say either, but I saw this last night, and then I watched the mother off to the side with her eyes and the tears welling up in her eyes as the father tried to get something done. It was so sad, but this little brat, this 18-year-old brat that's never done anything or ever had to want for anything, with her hands out in a motion of leave me alone, I don't want to talk to you, and then getting up and turning her back on her dad that from that little girl's birth went forth and made sure she had the best of medicine, the best of doctor care, the best of food, the best of education, the best of housing, the best of clothing. How damn spoiled are these kids?
I know, and it just makes me so mad and so angry and so disgusted. And what it's going to take is lots of family counseling, and it's going to take years of reparation to heal the wound that this little girl has created.
Yeah, and for the father, it must have been gut-wrenching for him to have to go over there and try to be the peacemaker in a situation where this girl has no respect for her parents whatsoever.
I know, and it really is heartbreaking. For me as a parent, my heart would be ripped out of my chest if my child had treated me that way.
Absolutely. Whew, I got to get the weather in. The weather this hour is brought to you by Butte Irrigation, 116 South, 600 West of Paul, 438-8103, and their new location right there a little bit north of Kimberly on Kimberly Road at Red Cap Corner, Butte Irrigation. They will get you wet. That's right. They handle all your irrigation needs. Bryce and the crew know. That's it. They know irrigation. They can help you at Butte Irrigation. Here's MichaelRogersWeather.com.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com, where every day is a good day. Some days better than others. Got some weather action today. A little bit of sun and clouds is going to turn into showers and taper off later for tonight. Get a break tomorrow, and looks like we're going to come out of it. Got a cold front coming through, but right now we're not going to get the brunt of it like some other folks to our north and to our east. So you're looking at temperatures just like yesterday, right around the upper 50s, overnight lows in the mid to upper 30s. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go, Michael. Thank you so much. Appreciate that. Butte Irrigation, they will get you wet. Contact them in Paul and also the new location at Kimberly for all your irrigation needs. Butte Irrigation. Thank you very much. All right, give us a call, 436-2244-1-866-927-4587. I'd like to hear what you have to say about all the topics that we've kind of got into this morning. Appreciate all your calls. One other thing I want to mention this morning is that I absolutely think it'd be a mistake for the Republican Party to look at and endorse and push to the forefront Jeb Bush for president. There is a lot of talk around the GOP circles. I've called a lot of people on the East Coast. I've talked to people in Florida. I've talked to people around the United States that absolutely think Jeb Bush, could be the stake in the heart, if you will, against Hillary Clinton if she gets the nod to run for the Democratic Party. What about that? You know, I sat here and I thought to myself, nope, won't work. It'll be absolutely devastating. I think the vote would be so many percentage points against Jeb Bush being another member of the Bush family to run. I absolutely think the American public will not go for another family member of the Bush family. What are your thoughts? Would Jeb Bush be a good selection for the GOP to run against Hillary if she gets the nod for the Democratic Party? I'd like to hear what you have to say. I certainly know and feel that it'll never be Chris Christie. I don't think it'll be Ted Cruz. I don't think it'll be Marco Rubio. I don't know, because the Republicans are in such disarray. Would Jeb Bush be the possibility for the GOP to push for the presidency? I'd like to hear your thoughts. 436-224-1-866-927-4587. Give me a call on that while I tell you about a great big spring tire sale that's going on at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Oh my. All 7 locations have all the tires on sale. Oh, these are the greatest tires, like the Strategy tires, starting at just $92.50. This is mud and snow rated, and we're going to get some more of that. You can bet on that. Very quiet riding tire. And then, of course, don't forget, let's take another look on the page here, the very best in batteries that are on sale, and the best in brake service, absolutely, with professionally trained technicians, over 30 years experience. Great big spring tire sale and all the other great items with Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family in Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Good morning, caller. You're on the air.
Hi there.
Hi. How are you?
How are you?
Well, I'm good. What are your thoughts this morning?
Well, no more Bushes. I think that we've had our fair share, and we've seen what seems to be in their bloodline, and I think we've got to get somebody who is fresh and has done good things in politics as well as in the world, but maybe somebody who it'll take him a little time to scrape up some dirt.
All right, who is it? Quickly, because I've got other calls and I want to get your opinion. You got to give me some names.
Oh, I wish I knew, because all of the people that come to mind have already tried it, and I think that there's somebody out there that could do it. But we've got to the Republicans have got to start looking under the bushes.
Well, not only that, but Chris, honestly, there's got to be a stop right now today of the dissension between the Republican Party, the old guard and the new guard, and the John McCains and the rest of these people have got to sit down and say, hey, wait a minute. They're of the old guard. We got to start looking at the Ted Cruzes and the Rubios, and we got to have some kind of a confrontation to where we can rebuild the party instead of having this dissension. Right now, I don't think the Republicans are any stronger than the Democrats, and quite frankly, I think they're in such a disarray that if they don't have their act together before May 1st of this year, you can kiss those Senate seats goodbye in November.
Well, and I, as I look around at the people that they've had to pick from up until now, there were some really good candidates. But when somebody in the Democratic Party just even throws a little bit of mud their direction, they don't have the cojones to stand up to it and say you're wrong.
Amen.
How many people in the Democratic Party have been elected and they've got checkered paths that is just terrible.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Could not agree more.
Or the Democrats rally around them and say, oh, well, you know, they can walk on water in spite of that.
Yeah, I could not agree more. There's just nobody with a backbone. They're more worried about re-election than they are standing up for their constituents. Oh, Chris, yeah. God bless you for your call. Good to hear from you. Thank you.
When I find somebody to nominate, I'll let you know.
Okay, good girl. Thanks. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, I'll tell you, the one I'd go for above all of them, and that's the Tea Party girl, Sarah Palin. But I know she couldn't make it, so I'd go for Ted Cruz.
I'm not against Ted Cruz at all. As a matter of fact, I like the shake-em-up attitude. I like the way he was very confrontational against the old guard. I like the way that he's kind of confronted the issues and everything. I'm not opposed to that. I just think that if we get stuck with the same kind of personality as we had the last time, with old John McCain in the rocking chair, we can kiss off the Republican GOP party.
Well, I think that, too. We got to have some movement. But Jeb Bush wouldn't be bad, but I'd take Ted Cruz ahead of him.
I agree with you. I'll see what this next caller says. Fred, thanks. God bless you, man. Thanks. Good morning, caller. Quickly, I've only got about a minute and a half left.
Okay. Well, my comment is Fred got ahead of me there a little bit. Sarah Palin would be my choice. If we've got a female on the Democratic side, I think Sarah Palin might be able to put Hillary Clinton in her place. I think it's our only chance.
I'll tell you where I disagree with you. I tell you where I disagree with you, Paul, real quick, is that I think Sarah Palin would be a very sharp and very astute politician and could run against Hillary and do a good job. But right now, with all the slams that have been made against her by the liberal left, there's too many film cuts, there's too many press cuts that they would bring up out of the archives. But here's a lady that I think could absolutely defeat Hillary Clinton. And here it is, Condoleezza Rice.
Okay. My response to that is, who are you going to find? They'll send an army out there to dig up something on whoever you get.
I agree with you.
So I'd say make your defense right now. Be prepared to be on the offense. And I still think she's our better choice.
All right. Well, God bless you for your call this morning, man. Good to hear from you. Thanks. All righty. We're going to take a little break here. I think, honestly, if that lady would consent to coming out of retirement, per se, I think that Condoleezza Rice is a sharp woman, and she knows how to look world leaders in the eye and say yes and no. Calls will be welcome right after we get done with the ABC News. We'll be back at 9:06 with my old buddy Doug Johnson from Colorado. And then a very interesting person, Dan Gaynor, with the Culture and Media Institute at 9:30 this morning, talking about how Hollywood absolutely shreds and tears apart anybody that's conservative. We'll talk about that in a little bit. God bless. We'll be back in 6. Some yo-yo gets mad at a crop duster and tries to shoot it. What kind of nut jobs are out there today anyway? Holy smokes. Welcome back, Zeb at the Ranch. And, of course, Zeb at the Ranch brought to you by our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you, along with our friends at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and more at 459 Overland in Burley, and Western Waste Services, always at your disposal.
From the canyons of the Snake River and all across southern Idaho, we're always at your disposal. Western Waste Services, we care about our community, our resources, and this great land. Western Waste Services is lending a hand, always at your disposal. Western Waste Services.
You know, it's really easy to talk and to brag, quite frankly, about Western Waste Services because they are always at your disposal. And we've had Kelly on the program many, many times talking about all their different services, you know, the porta potties and, of course, construction site management, the trash collection, the weekly picking up of your garbage. It's gone. It's out of there. All the dumpsters and, of course, now the Go Mini portable storage units, everything for your convenience. All you have to do is call 734-6969, 734-6969, always at your disposal, Western Waste Services. Okay, before we get to our guests for this half hour, I also want to remind you about a very dear friend that's been so helpful to our lunch bunch and everything over the years. We certainly thank Joel Heward, new owner, well, not new anymore, he's been there for quite some time, and manager of Hanson Mortuary at 710 6th Street in Rupert. What a nice man. I mean, he's always smiling, always helping, and his whole staff committed to upholding the highest ethical standards with unquestioned integrity in serving you and your family. So please, remember, all of us should take the time, look ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, you know what? To help alleviate a lot of the stress and worry for the family, I need to get pre-planning of funeral information. That's right. It's easy. Just give them a call, 436-5636. Hanson Mortuary, 710 6th Street in Rupert, serving you. Let's go to the phone lines right now, and I get a chance to talk to a good friend of mine way back in Colorado, as old Festus used to say on Gunsmoke. Good morning, Doug Johnson. How you been?
Well, I've been good, Zeb. How have you been?
Not too bad. What's the weather back there by you?
Oh, we're running in the upper 40s, low 50s, and sunny these days.
All right, about the same. Just this morning, Doug, and I know you probably got some topics you want to hit on this morning, but I've got to talk to you about this real fast. Just this morning, Lois Lerner did it again on behalf of the IRS. She took up the taxpayers' time and dime and pled the fifth in front of the Senate hearing, and we, the American public, are putting up with this garbage, and that's what it is from the IRS and Lois Lerner of not finding out the truth, and I am highly offended by this.
Well, I think you should be. It's no surprise. Yesterday, and actually for the past week, her attorneys have told Darrell Issa that she will plead the fifth if they don't come to an agreement on immunity, and he insisted she come to the hearing to say that. And so it was really no surprise. I think, he says that he's going to consider whether to find her in contempt, but they didn't do it at the hearing. They're going to consider that after the fact. I don't think it's going anywhere. I don't think it will go anywhere. This administration is too good at stonewalling, and I don't think any of these investigations are going anywhere, frankly, Zeb, and I don't think they're going to. I think we're in real trouble.
What does that say to the American public in general, for those of us that care? I mean, there's a lot of people that live in la-la land and really have their head buried in their children's sandbox. But what does it say to the American public when she continually takes the fifth and doesn't want to testify for fear of incriminating herself and some of the IRS activities? What does it say when Benghazi is still swept under the rug? What does it say about Fast and Furious? What does it say about the American network of honesty? To me, everybody now should be looked at like they're lying.
Well, I think so, and I'm going to probably have a different thought than many people have had. What she's doing when she has said, I did nothing wrong, I know of no wrongdoing, and then she insists on taking the fifth, that says, well, maybe she did do something wrong. It's not the same as when the police say, talk to us, and you say, I want an attorney, and the police say, well, if you're not guilty of anything, you don't need an attorney. That's wrong. You should never, ever speak to the police without an attorney. I'm a firm believer in that. But that's different than this. She has said publicly she did nothing wrong, she knows of no wrongdoing, and yet she still pleads the fifth. Something is wrong there. And the fact they cannot come to terms on a plea agreement or an immunity agreement says to me, Zeb, that she's not willing to, behind the scenes, give enough information for ISA and the committee to decide it's worth giving her immunity. And so because of this stonewalling, I think this whole thing is just going to be a dead end for us.
What chances or opportunities or legalities are left available to Darrell Issa and others to try for the American public to find out the truth and what really happened? To me, I agree with you. I don't think there's much left that they can do unless it's at the point of a gun, which is ridiculous to say, but really, what are the options?
Well, yeah, I don't think there are. I mean, not that I know of. I think they're at a dead end. It shows this is just the way the system works, and unless somebody at her level or on a similar level who has evidence would come forward, there is nothing that can be done. And sadly, I believe the reason these people don't speak out, and I heard yesterday from a source, I don't know how true it is, but I heard that she is not willing to testify because she is in fear for her life. Now, I know from other sources there are other people who've been involved in things with this administration or around this administration that have remained silent because they're in fear for their lives, the lives and safety of their families. So my suspicion is she has been threatened and she is not willing to speak out.
And why not? You're not the first person that's brought this up. As a matter of fact, just on Monday, a gentleman that I was talking to on the East Coast that's very well informed and has a news agency basically said the same thing. This administration is back on its heels right now, Doug. Look at the situation. I equate it to being on the Grand Canyon with their boot heels over the edge, and somebody's just going to breathe on them and they're going to tip over. This administration is absolutely so amateur and being run in such a way that there's nothing you can trust or believe in them. I mean, look at yesterday, okay? Obama needed to say something to sound tough against Putin. So what happens? He's at a school, and they quickly throw a podium up in front of our president with the background being in the classroom with the class drawings up on the wall and everything, and he's standing on a carpet that's an A, B, C, D, E, F, G carpet, and you talk about not looking tough and not looking presidential. And I've heard other people criticize this besides myself. This is ridiculous that our president is so mealy-mouthed and spineless.
Well, that's how we see it as patriots. He and the progressives, the communists, bluntly, don't see it that way. They see him as strong because he is accomplishing the destruction of America. That is his plan. They do not want us to be a superpower. They don't want us to be a power at all. They want to bring us down. And so to them, this is not weakness. And I don't think they're on the edge of the Grand Canyon ready to be pushed over easily. I think they're very strong, and we'd have an awful lot of pushing to do to get them to that point. I think that's shown by the fact that people like Darrell Issa can't get anywhere.
Okay, but let's look at the situation in the Ukraine. And I really, as an author and a writer, and you've got your Horse Sense blog, and you've got your books. By the way, this would be a great time. What's the name of the new book? I want to plug it because I can't wait to see it and read it.
Well, thank you. It's called The Leadership Secret.
Okay. And the gist is?
The gist of the book is that there are certain character traits that are required in all leaders to be a true leader. And this is what we need in people who are going to lead in any area of life, whether it be family or church or synagogue or civic organizations or our government. And this lists and shows what those character traits are that we need to look for in the people we bring into leadership positions.
Oh, I got to have a copy of that very soon, as soon as everything. What's the ETA as far as having everything out on the street?
It's on the streets.
All right, Doug, please. I'll send you the check. I got to have a copy of that. Thank you so much. Doug, okay, let's talk about leadership here for a minute. And please do not misunderstand my remarks. I am not saying anything that would give gratuities to Vladimir Putin. However, in this situation, hosting the Olympics with his country, and then also being in a form of power where everybody looked up to him during the Olympics, everybody was thanking him for the Olympics. He had this infiltration of the Ukraine in mind a long time ago. He has shown to his people, leadership and a quality of I am in control. Conversely, our government, with Barack Obama, has been back on their heels with almost every situation, from Syria, North Korea, etc. Compare the two leaders, if you would, Putin and Obama.
Well, I really don't think you can, because there is no comparison. Putin is a classic Soviet and I use the word Soviet intentionally, world leader. I mean, the Soviet Union may have fallen in name. It never fell in any other way. They've just been regrouping and reorganizing, and it's coming back just under a new label. He is still KGB or FSB, I guess they call it now. He is no different. They've done what the Chinese have done and allowed a certain level of freedom and capitalism into their economies, which has helped their economy. But their people are still under control. His opposition is still jailed or killed. It's very typical. It's a very strong, old school communist mindset. Barack Obama is the classic, I don't even want to use the word liberal. I'm trying to refrain from using that word because liberals are not the same as progressive. They're dramatically different. Mm-hmm. I try to avoid the use of the word liberal. It's a hard habit to break. But Barack Obama has this mindset that, well, if we're just nice, everybody will be nice to us. And they believe, and we've all seen it, that if you appease people, it'll be okay. It's a Neville Chamberlain mindset that Neville Chamberlain had when he went from or went down to Germany and tried to meet with Hitler and thought he could make things all hunky-dory with him, and he couldn't. The only thing people like Putin understand is strength. Mm-hmm. It's like the bully on the playground. They'll push until you push back because they have to respect you. And Absolutely. We do not have leadership in this country that will do that.
Okay, which brings me to my next point of interest because I want to get your viewpoint on this. We all, since we talked the last time, I'm shocked that we're going back to pre-World War II money on a budget for our military. We're going back to like 440,000 troops as compared to where we are now at about 550,000, etc. We're going way back while we are at war. Let's just call it what it is. We are at a war time in this country. Why would anybody with any common sense whatsoever, which I don't grace his name with common sense, why would you want to go and cut back to pre-World War II at a time when we are in about 8 or 9 different real hot spots and the potentiality of having 6 more?
Well, I know I'm a broken record, Zeb, because I say it a lot, but they, meaning this administration, this president, don't want us to be strong. They don't want us to be a world power. They want us to be just another country. They want to bring us down so that we're at the same level as the rest of the world. They don't want to bring the rest of the world up. They want to bring us down. That's how they do these things, and that's how they bring people under control. They don't think in the terms we do. The fact is that pre-World War II levels of our military put us in a position where, frankly, we were lucky to be able to respond to Pearl Harbor and get involved in the war because we were hit so hard, and our military was so small. And had our industry, our heavy industry, not been capable of ramping up to supply not just our military but Russia and our European allies, we never would have been able to win World War II. And we are not in the same position today because we do not have the heavy industry today that we had back then. That is mostly all moved offshore. And so they're putting us in a position even far weaker than we were before World War II. And I think they want us that way. Because remember, this is the same president who said to Medvedev to let Putin know that after he would be reelected, he could then easier, or on a more easy basis, cut our nuclear stockpiles, because Russia has something like 6,000 nuclear warheads, and Obama is trying to bring us down to 265. It's insanity, but this is what we face, and the American people need to wake up. But I've got to say one other thing. You said something about the cutting of the military and whatever, and I'm going to say something, and conservatives hate this, and that's probably why I say it, because I like to create a discussion. But we really shouldn't be surprised, and we don't have a lot to complain about when they cut our military, because we as citizens have, number one, not stood up and taken control of our Congress again and insisted they cut spending and told them what we're willing to give up in other areas so that our military can be strong.
I agree.
We do not have the money to pay for our military. Every cent we spend is almost half additional debt. It's not just coming out of our pockets, they're adding debt to us. Every American has personal debt right now. If you take and divide our national debt by the number of citizens in our country, every American has $646,000 of debt as their part of the national debt. So all they do is keep increasing that. We have to take a stand and say, forget all these other benefits. give us our military strength. That's more important to us. And if we don't, and we don't have the elected representatives to do that for us, we kind of are deserving what we get.
Now, I agree with everything you said, but there's a caveat there. And it happened yesterday with Secretary of State John Kerry over in Kiev in the Ukraine. He promised help to the Ukrainians. Now, that help in his speech was in the form of a $1 billion, with a B, loan guarantee for reparation. And my comment the first hour was, and please understand where I'm coming from on this, Doug, we, the United States, we always offer the checks, the money, that you and I as taxpayers have to honor to pay another country because of another madman's destruction, and I've had enough.
Well, you should have had enough. We should have all had enough, Zeb. You're right. Because that $1 billion, almost half of that is additional debt to us.
That's right.
Taxpayers. We don't have $1 billion to give them.
That's right.
But they give it to them anyway. They're running our credit card, figuratively speaking, up further and further. And this is how Washington works. This is why we need the right kind of people in Washington. And we can come back to this in a minute if you want, but I'm going to make a comment. I tuned into your show on the Internet just before you went to break, before I came on, and I heard something you said that I do want to comment on, and that was who you think could win in the 2016 elections, because I very much disagree with you.
Really?
I think it would be a very, very bad choice for us. But we do need the right person. We need the person who will stand up, but we also need the Congress who will back that person.
Well, wait a minute, though. You disagreed with what I said. You disagree with Condoleezza Rice, right?
Yes.
The only reason...
She's not a conservative.
Okay, but wait a minute. The only reason that I threw that name in, and I've said this before on the program, I think that her politics matched up against, I said, if Hillary got the nomination on the Democratic Party, I think her politics, Condoleezza's, would show forth in a much brighter fashion because of her past experience as Secretary of State and her meeting world leaders in a face-to-face, eye-to-eye basis as opposed to Hillary. I think she could beat Hillary. That's why I brought her name into it.
Well, she certainly is better in the sense of her experience as Secretary of State, but she's pro-choice. She has a number of views, and I'm trying to go through a list of them in my head real quickly, that fit either libertarian or moderate views. They are not conservative. And so I think that's where it would hurt, because she would basically be aligned with like the Bushes. And being from the Bush administration, that would hurt her desperately, because the left would play on that. So I don't think she would play as well against Hillary as we may think. I think getting somebody totally different it would be a much better choice.
Yeah, but there again, though, Doug...
I think anybody who has anything to do with the Bush administration, all we will hear again is Bush, Bush, Bush.
I agree.
And that will hurt.
I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that, and that's why I think Jeb Bush is not a name to be pushed. But let's go back to what I started the conversation last hour. The Republican Party is in such disarray, and there's so much condemnation from the old school, the old guard, to the newcomers like the Ted Cruz's and Marco Rubio. If they don't get their act in order now, I mean right now, today at 3 o'clock, the Senate and the House possibly will still stay just like it is.
At best it will. I don't know if you noticed yesterday, but the primaries in Texas, where they were trying to unseat two established Republicans, Cornyn and Sessions, who have shown themselves to be moderate disasters, they were challenged by very strong candidates, Tea Party candidates, and the Tea Party candidates lost miserably. I think that says a lot when that happens in Texas, because Texas is always seen as this big conservative stronghold, which I don't believe it is anymore. It's failing rapidly because they're working very hard in Texas using the same methodology they used to take over Colorado. And I think we are in real trouble, more trouble than we realize, and a lot of people are saying the Tea Party is going to make big inroads in November. Well, that means we all better be out, not just talking about it, but working on it and doing what we can, because I think we're in real trouble. And Zeb, I think the secret to the future of America lies in the congressional elections of 2014, not in the presidential elections of 2016.
Absolutely agree. Doug, plug your new book one more time and tell everybody how they can get a copy. Go ahead, give us all the information one more time.
Sure. The book is called The Leadership Secret, and it's about how we choose our leaders and what character traits we need to find in the people we put in leadership positions, whether it be your local school board or national office or a business or your church or synagogue or wherever. If they go to my website, DougJohnsonOnline.com, it's right there. They can click on it. It'll take them to the Amazon listing. They can get it in Kindle format or in physical book format, whichever they prefer.
All right. Very, very dear friend, Doug Johnson, Colorado. I wish you a lot of success with that book. I'm sure it's great, and we'll look forward to talking to you next Wednesday.
Thanks, Zeb. I appreciate it.
God bless you. Thank you so much. Dear friend, Doug Johnson from Colorado, and a man that really studies politics and its personalities. Got a lot of respect for that man. Okay, let's see, where are we? Oh, Pro Paint. My goodness, they're having their 25th anniversary sale right now. The Rancliffe family is celebrating 25 years in the paint business, and have they got some deals for you. Pittsburgh paint is on sale, industrial paint for farm equipment. Oh, yeah, you can fix up those old tractors and everything, make them look brand spanking new. Get ready for spring. Just stop in at Pro Paint, 1116 Overland and Burley. Big 25th anniversary sale going on right now at Pro Paint. Also, our dear friends, and they are Dean and Todd, over at Cameron Siemens Insurance. Make sure you're protected. Don't put it off on the back burner. You know, like a lot of us when it comes to insurance, we'll say, well, you know what, you're right, I'll take care of it next Thursday. Or maybe I'll talk to him the first of the month. Yeah, I'll get it done. No. Don't do that. Call them right now, because your life insurance, health insurance, retirement planning, employee benefits, everything for protection, you need to stay on top of. And they will help. Dean Cameron, Todd Siemens at Cameron and Siemens Insurance, Highway 24 in Rupert. Number to call, 436-4424. You give them a call today. Real quick, I've got to go over some public service announcements, and I want to mention this one more time. Next Monday, our program at 10:06, we will be hosting a gentleman that you've seen on national television many, many times, and that will be Lieutenant Colonel Oliver North is scheduled to be on our program, and that's, of course, because of the benefit at the King Fine Arts Center on April 12th for the Chris Workman Scholarship Fund, and he is coming in to speak, but we're going to have him on our program next Monday at 10:06. Don't miss that. Colonel Oliver North. And then also some of the highlights for this week that I want to hit. And I'm trying to find my public service file that I had. Here it is. The end of this week, March 6th, 7th, and 8th, Minico High School will have the performance of Hello, Dolly. And they're going to have these at 7 p.m. with a matinee on the 8th at 1 p.m. And that's at Minico High School. And then on the 6th, which is Thursday, Raft River High School Rodeo Team will have its annual dinner and auction. And the proceeds, of course, go to help pay the kids' entry fees and help the ones that qualify to compete at the state rodeo. And also on the 7th, Oakley High School is going to be presenting Mr. OHS at 7 p.m. at the Oakley High School. Those are some of the events coming up around the area that really you should attend, okay? Another thing I'd like to remind you of real quick before we get our old buddy Dan Gaynor on the phone is that Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More, they're always there to serve you. And right now, they're celebrating their 67th anniversary spectacular. Holy cow. They've got all the carpet. They've got everything over there for you. They've got carpet in 3 different choices. Good, better, and the best at 3 different price ranges. So there they are, serving you. They've got all your mattresses, all your bedroom sets, they've got all your furniture, all your sofas, everything. All you have to do is just stop in and check it out. No money down, no interest until June of this summer at the 67th Anniversary Spectacular at Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. You stop in and see those great folks today, okay? Well, ladies and gentlemen, right now, excuse me for the sore throat this morning, Gina's on the phone.
I couldn't get a hold of him. Goes to voicemail.
What do you mean you couldn't get a hold of him?
Well, my fingers did the dialing. I picked up the phone, and I left a message.
Well, in that case, what we had better do is we're going to just yell out one single name, Goober!
is there a backup number that I can call?
I do not have a backup number this morning for him, and we will do our best to see if we can't get a hold of Jesse back on the East Coast and see if you can please find out immediately where our friend Dan Gaynor is. And until we find that out, calls are welcome and appreciated. Oh, how they're appreciated at 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Give me a call. Have you got any other hot topics we need to get on the air this morning? My goodness.
Oh, well, there's always hot topics going around. Of course, the one that's pretty much got me infuriated the most, and we've already covered it in the first hour. Oh, you know what? I've got a phone call coming in, so hold on just a
Okay,
second.
we'll take that real fast. Thank you very much. Good morning, caller. You're on the air. Appreciate your call.
Hey, Zeb, it's Dan.
Oh, you are a godsend. We couldn't get you by phone, and I got worried. How are you, my friend?
It was just the transition from one appearance to another. That's all. We just had about a 60-second gap there. That's all.
No, not a problem, Dan. I appreciate your taking the time. Dan Gaynor of the Culture and Media Institute, Vice President, and a dear friend of this program, been on many, many times. Dan, we're seeing quite a division in our society, and it's getting worse. It's not getting better. And we're seeing a lot of groups, if you will, like Hollywood and others, absolutely denigrate conservatives and Christians. And we may have seen the conservatives go down the drain as far as nomination for Oscars, especially one author that I think has done a lot for the movie business, has done a lot for book sales in this country, one of my favorite authors, Tom Clancy. Tell us a little bit about that story.
Well, every year, because people die, every year, part of the Academy Awards, they do a in memoriam section. This year they played Wind Beneath My Wings. I think they had Bette Midler sing it live. And they're playing that as they're flashing little clips of famous people. So there's the more you dig into this, the more nefarious it becomes. First of all, Tom Clancy, who has done numerous bestsellers, several of which have been made into movies, which have a combined box office of $446 million, so almost $500 million. One of the movies in the theater right now, that his most recent movie, is still out there. Mm-hmm. And yet he doesn't get mentioned. Well, Tom Clancy, if you remember, not only was a big-time conservative, but he was influential during the Reagan administration to get both the Reagan administration and America to take the Soviet threat seriously. So the Hollywood has never liked that about him, but he did movies that starred famous people, whether it's Sean Connery or Alec Baldwin or Keira Knightley, so you can go down the list of famous people in his movies, and it's a long list. Harrison Ford. Yet, somehow, he wasn't important enough to include. Mm-hmm. Now, if you dig a little further, you have to look at who else didn't get included. How about Shirley Temple Black? Somebody else, the only other person who was really among the likely people to be chosen, who had Reagan connections and had been an ambassador for this country during Reagan's time, and had become a Republican, and Hollywood never embraced that. Shirley Temple is one of the most iconic figures in the history of Hollywood, mm-hmm. but she didn't make the list. So then you do the opposite. You look and see who did. And there's some wonderful people on that list. Ray Harryhausen, who's possibly the greatest mind in special effects in the history of Hollywood. So a lot of the people on there deserve to be there. And then you look and you see Tom Laughlin on there. Now, people don't remember Tom Laughlin. He was the brains and the actor behind the movie series Billy Jack. Mm-hmm. If you remember, Billy Jack was an action movie, but he was this enormous left-winger who went around beating up right-wing people.
Yes.
He was like a karate guy who would fight people and always defending liberal values, and that was the whole shtick of his movies. Well, Laughlin was also notorious Hollywood liberal activist. So his movies, he only made he only made a handful of movies, and they were not big, generally speaking, big movies. Oh, but he's on the list because he was a big liberal activist. Tom Clancy, not at all.
Well, Dan, let me ask you this. Isn't it changing somewhat when a bombshell, and I'll call it a bombshell, you can call it differently and disagree with me if you wish, but when Matthew McConaughey gets up to accept his Academy Award, his Oscar, and he pointed to the heavens and said, "Thank you to the one that I look up to, and that's God," you absolutely, some of the faces in the audience, it looked like all of a sudden they got hit with a pinball machine. I think that was a real turning point in Hollywood. Am I right or wrong?
Well, I mean, is it a turning point or is it a last gasp of reality?
Yeah.
I mean, you've got him and Jared Leto, who won the Best Supporting Actor for a transgender role. But even Jared Leto was mentioning how his mom had been a single mom, and was gave this kind of heartfelt support for family speech. But for McConaughey, who is generally thought of in sort of party boy terms, I think, in Hollywood, for him to have come out and said that about God, well, it certainly was earth-shattering. But he'll pay for that. Here he is. He's at the pinnacle of his career. He just won the Best Actor Oscar. There's no bigger award for an actor. And he's going to pay for that because there are going to be people who won't hire him because they think he's a religious zealot.
But who?
Hollywood doesn't like that.
But who? Dan, who are these people? Is it a clandestine little group that meets in a smoke-filled room behind some little restaurant? Or what? Who are these people that are so much in control that Hollywood, actors and actresses, are absolutely afraid of them?
Well, I mean, they're the behind-the-scenes people. They're directors, they're producers, they're studio executives. Those are the people who run Hollywood, not the actors. I mean, you'd have to be in his heyday a Charlton Heston or a John Wayne or these days, maybe a few years ago, a Sean Connery, and he's kind of old now, but I mean, you have to be somebody who has incredible vendor power because you're so popular. But otherwise, they tell you what to do, tell you what to think, tell you how to act. I mean, look at the movie Wolf of Wall Street. One of the actresses in that, I don't remember her name, but she was very little well known, and she was given an opportunity to be in that movie. But the payoff for the movie was she had to get nude in the movie. So here she is. If she doesn't do what Hollywood wants her to do, her career pretty much goes down a blind alley and probably never comes out again. Or she does what they want her to do, and she's stuck. She has to go and appear nude. So that's what she did. So she'll have a career now. But she did what they wanted her to do.
But when you look at the films that Tom Clancy's books really opened up, I mean, look at all the different books like The Hunt for Red October and all of the other stories that Tom Clancy wrote about. He was a genius when it came to writing and almost crossed the line in giving away too much security information about our war materials, etc. But he was a genius, and people like Harrison Ford, Morgan Freeman, and Sean Connery, whom you've already mentioned, they really should be thanking him for the opportunity to star in some of those movies that really made a lot of money.
Well, yeah, I mean, they should, but they didn't. I mean, remember, and Harrison Ford, going back to basically the very beginning of his career, has been an actor I've liked. I remember him appearing in the 1960s with James Caan in a movie, Journey to Shiloh, which was a Civil War movie. But Harrison Ford was the guy on stage when they gave the standing ovation to Roman Polanski. I mean, I'm sorry, but Hollywood will celebrate you if you are one of them, foul and disgusting and perverted, and they don't want to celebrate you if you push traditional values. And I mean, the Clancy books, for people who are in the audience who are liberal, if you ever saw West Wing, that's Tom Clancy in reverse. West Wing is a liberal fable Tom Clancy movies were conservative fables. There was the world the way it should be. Yes, there are bad guys, but there are good guys, men and women who will stand up to that evil, even if it costs them everything, because standing up to evil is the right thing to do.
Can there ever be a change in that situation, or will it always get worse? I know that there are actors like Tom Selleck that have bucked the trend, if you will, against the liberalism, and other actors that have said, no, we're not going to stand up for this garbage, we're going to speak out. And they still seem to have their careers. Tom Selleck is an excellent example. On both the stage and the screen of television, he's done a very good job.
But he also keeps quiet. I mean, yes, people know he's conservative, and he's done a lot of, you watch Blue Bloods, which is, I've only seen it once, and I thought it was a very excellent show, to the point where I, at some point in time, intend to go back and watch it from the very beginning. I've always liked Tom Selleck. He's a fantastic actor, but he's not controversial. Mm-hmm. So it's almost like he's allowed his little conservative, show to watch on television, but he doesn't make a big deal about it, and that's sort of the compromise.
So what you're saying is, if there was a reincarnation of John Wayne might not make it in Hollywood because of his conservative views.
Well, yes, but now here's the good news. And the good news is there are increasingly there are technology that might limit Hollywood's power. Look at Roma Downey. She has the #2 movie this week. Mm-hmm. And the #2 movie was something she forced out into the real world about Jesus. And she did it without Hollywood star power, without Hollywood being involved and trying to prevent it or manipulate it or twist it in some way. That is the hope, that more and more we don't need the big studio system. We don't need the big Hollywood bigwigs. That they can be, that the term when it happens in journalism and other industries is it can be disintermediated. And that means basically they can just be removed. You don't need the middleman. You go directly to the customer. I'm going to make a movie. You guys are going to want to see it. Just as Christian churches around the country reserve movie theaters to take their entire, parishes and all the parishioners, all the attendees, all the congregants to go see the film. And when they did that, they made a huge mark.
Mm-hmm. But you would also agree with me, though, in regards to Roma Downey's film and her husband, the Son of God, there was also a lot of pressure put on both of them to change and censor things in the movie so that it didn't reflect bad on the liberals, especially the president, because of the coincidental look of Satan.
Yeah, obviously, anytime you come out with a controversial movie, and the only reason it's controversial is because the idea that faith at all is a controversial idea in Hollywood now, and that's where we are. That's the point we are in post-Christian America. And I say post-Christian, it doesn't mean Christians don't exist anymore, but we've been a Christian nation, for a couple hundred years. We're not now. It's not that we don't want to be, it's that the forces of power, the left, the media, and yes, our own government, are actively seeking to undermine faith and the power of the religious people in our country.
Is that because we, the laymen in the society, we, the churchgoers on Sunday, we, the moms and dads that still get together with our families and worship on Sunday, we're not speaking out, we're not being vocal enough? What's the reason?
Well, they have a platform. They control education. They control media. And we let it happen. That's in summary. We let it happen rather than try to halt the progress of left-wing teaching in the schools. Years and years ago, we let it happen. We just handed over our schools to. There's some fantastic teachers out there, but we had the institutions themselves are largely run by people who don't like America, don't like what it stands for, don't like its history, and certainly don't like us. And then we've done the very same thing with the media. We've let the media have so much power, but again, they don't like us. And now the real crisis is that our own government is run by people who don't like us.
You don't paint a very optimistic picture, even though I concur with everything you said. Is there hope? Is there enough people that might get some backbone, some politicians that might stand up and speak out, or are we doomed to this liberal leftism that's going to be the downfall of morality in America?
Well, I mean, you're never doomed until it happens. I mean, you know, there's always, and even if it happened, you could always reverse it. It's been my hope that the left would go too far, and the response would be that libertarians and social conservatives would work together to push back against government. I no longer am sure if I believe that. I think libertarians don't want to work with social cons many times, and so maybe that doesn't happen. But what we really need is somebody with the charisma and the willingness to fight social conservative issues as a national leader. We need another Ronald Reagan in that way. And maybe that can arrest or even reverse the process. I am not willing to surrender. I don't surrender very easily, and I know where you guys, where you live, I know you guys don't either.
Absolutely. You know, Dan, going back again, final thought here regarding Tom Clancy, Shirley Temple, and others. Do you think their names will all of a sudden fade into obscurity, or do you think someone will make a little bit of noise to have that re-implemented possibly for next year?
Well, no, I mean, I think it will be a battle every year. It's one last chance for Hollywood to shun them, one last chance for them to stick a thumb in the eye of actors and actresses who, or writers who were important but who were conservative. So, I mean, I think it's a battle, but I think we've got to constantly fight it, because if you don't fight it, you can't win.
Absolutely. Dan, I always appreciate having you on the air. I know you had to run from one phone to the other, and we appreciate it.
Oh, it's fine to talk to you, Zeb. I do it anytime.
Take
care of yourself.
You're a good friend.
You know how much I like being on with you and your audience.
God bless you. Culture and Media Institute Vice President Dan Gaynor. Have the best, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thank you, too.
All right. Very nice man right there. Dan Gaynor with the Culture and Media Institute. And, you know, that's a shame. Absolutely a shame. I think I have read almost every single book that Tom Clancy has ever written. And all the different movies. I mean, my goodness, The Hunt for Red October, about the Cold War. That book was even endorsed by Ronald Reagan when he was in office, as a matter of fact. And his first 4 film adaptations to his books, his first 4, grossed over $446 million. I mean, he is unfortunately Tom has passed away, but he was a big kingpin, not only as an author, but the influence that it had on Hollywood. And, I mean, when you're talking almost $500 million in gross money from theaters off the books that they turned into movies, and the guy doesn't get any recognition, something is really, really wrong. Calls are welcome and appreciated. 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Don't forget, it's time for the weather right now. Red's Trading Post, 203 Fifth Avenue South in Twin Falls, is the place to go for all your guns, ammo, and accessories. Don't forget, you purchase a firearm from Red's Trading Post and receive training bucks for both LMS Defense and Shaw Shooting. Absolutely phenomenal. And you can use those training bucks in their rifle and pistol training courses. And by the way, too, they give you top dollar for trade-in on your firearms. Nobody gives you more for your trade than Red's Trading Post, 203 Fifth Avenue South in Twin Falls. Here now, Michael Rogers Weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com, where every day is a good day. Some days are better than others. Got some weather action today. A little bit of sun and clouds is going to turn into showers and taper off later for tonight. Get a break tomorrow, and looks like we're going to come out of it. Got a cold front coming through, but right now we're not going to get the brunt of it like some other folks to our north and to our east. So you're looking at temperatures just like yesterday, right around the upper 50s, overnight lows in the mid to upper 30s. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
All right. Thank you very much, Michael. Brought to you this hour by Red's Trading Post, 203 Fifth Avenue South in Twin Falls. All your guns, ammo, and accessories at Red's Trading Post. All right, give me a call, 436-2244, 1-866-927-4587. Gina, I know that you like to weigh in on subjects like this, but isn't it a shame that liberalism and leftist thought has taken over Hollywood to the point where a person like, or persons like, Shirley Temple and Tom Clancy, for all their donation and contribution to the arts with movies, etc., they would be put into obscurity because of their politics?
I think it is a shame. I think that Hollywood, they totally misrepresent what truly goes on in the heartland of America, and for them it's, all about their agenda, and I think that they need to broaden it, honestly. I'm
sure that over there at the K-Bar Studios, you probably run across the album by John Wayne, America, Why I Love Her.
Actually, it's in my playlist.
Okay. Take that man, take his philosophy, take the verbiage off of almost any song in that album, and John Wayne would not be the John Wayne that he was if he were alive today. That's my feeling.
And honestly, you are absolutely correct. And one of the best things that I enjoyed about John Wayne is, or what he actually put on there, was the hyphenated American.
Yeah. But take a look at all the old stars, though, and I think you'll agree with me on this. And some of these are before your time, but look at even going back in a simplistic form of Roy Rogers and Dale Evans. Good, wholesome family, love God, worship, all of this. Look at Gene Autry the same way. You can go back in the entertainment vein of the 50s and 60s and 70s, and you can find people that were very conservative, but yet now it's something to be shunned and swept under the carpet.
Yeah, since when was pushing family values and patriotism a bad thing?
Well, look at shows that were on TV like the Donna Reed Show or the Real McCoys. They always had a good storyline where mom and dad were not wrong, they weren't buffoons, and they raised their kids to be something successful.
Well, a little bit more closer to my generation, how about Little House on the Prairie?
There you go.
Brady Bunch.
Absolutely.
There was a whole bunch of shows I remember that I watched when I was a kid that were wholesome, and they pushed the family values and having good morals and being good to your neighbors. And now it's kind of like just a free-for-all.
Name one, please. And I don't watch that much television in the evening other than sports and news. But name one show today that you're aware of that does have a good value system and a good morality system. Yeah.
The Voice? Maybe.
Well,
yeah, honestly, I can't name one. I honestly cannot name one television show on the air today that pushes some sort of positive value that America should stand for.
Well, look at
other than The Voice. I mean, I like The Voice, but they're not really pushing any sort of standard.
Well, when I was growing up, and television in the evening, prime time, I mean, we'd finish and we'd watch the Donna Reed Show, or we'd watch the Real McCoys, or we'd watch shows even like 77 Sunset Strip, a detective show, that always, the good guys won and the bad guys were made out to be what they were, and that's bad guys. Yeah. And why have we got away from that?
I have no idea. I remember MASH. MASH was always a really good, not necessarily a wholesome show, but they did push patriotism and, the American value. Also, Hill Street Blues.
I agree.
Hill Street Blues used to be one of my favorites.
I agree. But now I'll go back to the Donna Reed Show. And I know this is putting age on me and everything else, and people say, oh, well, you old fogey, that's times past. They had a value system to where if one of the kids made a mistake, one of the kids got in trouble, they were reprimanded if it was their fault, or they were nurtured if it wasn't their fault by the parents, and you felt a bond. You felt a cohesiveness of the American family. What do you have today?
Not much. We've got a phone call.
All right, we'll take it. Good morning. You're on the air.
Yeah, Zeb. It's kind of ironic. You were talking the history man yesterday.
Yes.
He was talking about the races on the Ohio River with the Delta Queen.
Yes.
He was talking about some of the boats that were going up the Mississippi and the Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
He said some of them had a 3-foot stroke. The Delta Queen has a 2-foot bore and a 4-foot stroke. I've been on it. I was on it in New Orleans.
Oh, my goodness sakes. Were the steamboats, Doc, were the steamboats back then as dangerous as they were purported to be?
They were as dangerous as the guy running them. when they were racing them and things, if they were turning the pressure up, yes, they could be dangerous because they'd run them out of water. And the regulations and things now, some of the tractors and things that we had back then, there was an old Huber steam engine that operated with 3/4-inch pipe. It was a double-line pipe, though, and they would not let, the state regulations would not let them use that Huber under the way it was written.
Now,
it had to be an inch pipe to run 200 pounds of pressure.
Now, Doc, I was surprised, and I'm almost out of time here, and I got to get a commercial in, but I was really surprised as to the size of those steamboats. Some of those were pretty doggone big.
Yeah, they had to be, but see, they had to do that to get the buoyancy, so they didn't have to have a real deep channel.
Okay, I understand.
That's the reason they did it. It was more or less like a raft, is basically what it was.
Doc, I got to run to the news. God bless you, man.
Very interesting. I enjoy it and love it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it very much. Thank you. Before we run to the news, I want to remind everybody about Let's Ride Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley, open Tuesdays through Saturdays from 9 to 6. And have they got a huge selection of side-by-sides at Let's Ride. Stop in. You're going to find one you just can't live without. They've got a lot of the ATVs on sale. And don't forget, for the young at heart, they've got dirt bikes, and they've got a great parts and service department and all the accessories. Think spring, think Let's Ride. Where the fun is sold, Highway 24 between Rupert and Burley. They're waiting right now to serve you. Coming up next hour, we've got Representative, I'm not sure who's going to be on this morning, whether it's going to be Scott Bedke, Dean Cameron, Fred Wood, I don't think is going to be calling in, but we'll have somebody from the legislative session. And then at 10:30 this morning, my dear friend Jack Euler coming on the program. Don't go away. We'll be back in 6 with more. And I got a question for Gina in just a minute. I can't let this pass. But anyway, welcome back. Third hour Zeb at the Ranch with our major sponsor, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers, all 7 locations serving you. And, of course, some of our great advertisers, including Lee's Furniture, Floors, and More at 459 Overland in Burley. And our friends at Western Waste Services, always at your disposal. Get on the route service today, Western Waste, 734-6969. Real quickly, Gina, wouldn't you consider it an obvious charge of aggravated battery and assault if somebody throws a hatchet at you?
Yeah.
I started giggling during the news. I thought, well, no kidding. Okay.
Yeah, that would be a complete case of aggravated battery. And if you read later on in the story, she texted him and said, you shouldn't have called the cops.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Kind of like you're in the middle of a Seminole Indian war, but don't call the police. Are you kidding me? I want John Wayne there with me. Speaking of John Wayne, we have our own version of John Wayne with us on the program right now. And I believe the Speaker of the House, Representative Scott Bedke, is here. Good morning, Scott. How are you?
Well, hi, Zeb. How are you doing this morning?
Actually, pretty good, and it's so nice to hear from you. It's been a long time. I know you've been busy, but I'm going to ask you and turn it over to you. Bring us up to speed as to how the legislative session is going.
Well, it's going pretty well. It's very busy, and this was Fred's week, but he's stuck in the middle of a hearing downstairs, and so I said I could certainly cover for him. So it's busy. It's kind of at that point of the session where reality is kind of setting in. So some people wanted things to happen, and it's not happening exactly the way they think it should. So there's no shortage of people outside my office here. What can we do to fix this? What can we do to fix that? And so I think that the bright spots, frankly, are the education budget. I think that they passed out of their committee probably as good a education budget as we've had since 2008. Mm-hmm. It addresses, teachers. It addresses. It takes a step down the road on the, implementing the governor's task force recommendations, and so we could get into the details of that. But bottom line, it restores a bunch of the operational funding to the schools. There'll be money in it if the districts so choose to use for textbooks. I know that's making a big issue in our part of the state and in some of our school districts in the Magic Valley. There'll be, we're going back to the salaries, the beginning salary for a teacher who had been cut, through the recession. That looks like that will get restored. And so that's good news. The Wolf bill and that sets up the fund to step in, frankly, where the federal government left us is moving. It's over on the Senate side. The ag security legislation has now passed and has been signed into law. So that, and that's a net good thing for our part of the state. The enhanced carry restriction or ability on college campuses, that's come from the Senate to the House, and that's on our calendar.
Mm-hmm.
We'll probably debate that sometime next week. Just depending on how it works its way up. See, this is where we're trying to get every House bill over to the Senate, and the Senate get all of their Senate bills over to the House, so that we don't leave things in the pipeline. It's our goal to be done on March 21st, and that would be a 75-day session. That would be the shortest session in recent history, and we're just trying to be, get in, get out, and get done with the people's business. Setting the budget, of course, is the big deal, and all this other stuff is ancillary to that. So anyway, things are moving along. It's hectic again because people are, their idea that they wanted to get through is cold hard reality is setting in. That this may not make it through this year, and so that people are really attached to these. They've got strong, everybody has a strong opinion. Their ideas are valid, and anyway, so that's kind of my what I've been doing here lately is trying to work out compromises, etc. I think one thing that I did overlook in my list is the water issue.
Mm-hmm.
We do have a clear path forward there, not only with policy but with money. I think that we'll be able to. The good news is that, and this happened last week, was that the director of the Department of Water Resources stayed the curtailment decision, and then they'll have hearings. The groundwater pumpers have submitted a list of things that they think they can do to mitigate the impacts to the senior water right holder down there in the Hagerman Valley, in this case Rangan. And they'll make their case to the department, and if the department, Rangan has made it clear, frankly, that they are not as interested in water as they are in money. But if the groundwater community can deliver the water to them, then I suspect that the director will approve the mitigation plan, and that takes a big cloud off of the economy in our part of the world, frankly. I sponsored some legislation that authored some legislation that will get money. See, we make this final payment on the capital this year, mm-hmm. and so the money that was going to pay off the capital, we're going to put that into the Water Resource Board so that they can take some affirmative steps in getting recharge infrastructure up and going in our part of the state. It'll allow for modeling of the aquifer here in the Treasure Valley and in the Rathdrum aquifer up in Kootenai County. But anyway, the state is well positioned. I think if these bills make it through the system, and I have no doubt that they will, and that the governor signs them, the state is going to be in a pretty good position with regard to water, maybe arguably better than we've ever been, and we will have carved out money, ongoing money, to address this once and for all. That's my hope. That's a big order, but we can't have the instability in the ag community that having these calls and the specter of a call hanging over their head, that is very disruptive to the ag sector, to those, to the lenders, to the vendors. I mean, we've got to get this behind us, and I think we've got some bills that are coming that will do just exactly that.
Scott, let me ask you some questions in the time remaining here this morning on the various topics. Now, we talked about the water, and unless I didn't hear you, what about the recharge of the aquifer?
Yes, nearly every spring there's unappropriated water that comes down the river, and instead of shipping that on down to the ocean, we need to put that out and recharge the aquifer. But we've never, we had the money set aside back before the recession, and during the recession, that money was swept back into the general fund. So not only did we restore the money back that was taken before, during the recession, but we've also carved out from the ongoing revenue $5 million a year that will go to address these issues. And so the infrastructure, so the diverting works, if you will, to put the water in the ground, those have not been constructed because these are $2 or $3 million a throw each time we do that. And, so we can use the existing delivery systems of the canals companies that we have, but most of that capacity is already spoken for by the owners of the canal system. So we will use them while we can, and help enlarge, their capacity in some cases, but creating an area where we can put the water in the ground. That's what this is about. I am very, you and I and others have been, it's always been discouraging every spring of the year when we're letting water down through the system and we let it go down past Milner, knowing that we'll never get to put that water again to use in Idaho. And this allows us to do just exactly what you described, is to recharge the aquifer. If we're not going to be able to do dams and store the water on the surface, let's put it into the underground storage system that we already have, and that's what this would do.
Absolutely. Now, another bill that caused a huge furor up in Boise during the legislative session, and you and I talked about it privately on the phone prior to the passing in the House and the Senate, was what some people called the ag-gag bill. I called it an ag security bill. And still, you'll see letters coming in from all over the United States condemning Idaho for not being more open and forthright. And I said this to you a long time ago. It's not just a dairy protection bill. It's a bill to protect agriculture in general, whether it's a hog operation, whether it's a sheep operation, dairy operation, or, in my case, a horse operation. These people are very insidious, and they can take and encroach upon your property, to film things, edit the film the way they want it, and they can be very detrimental for agriculture in the future. That's why I was so supportive of that ag security bill. I'd like your comments.
Well, that's exactly why I supported the bill as well, and that's been signed into law. The Senate sent it to us. We moved that to the top of the calendar, and we ran that bill and got it down to the governor's office, and he's already signed that into law. So everything you said was exactly accurate, and this in no way excuses poor treatment of livestock.
That's right.
And we don't even. I mean, that's so obvious. I mean, we shouldn't even have to spend time, discussing that. But this is, these same people would stand up for their privacy laws. I mean, they would not. I mean, if we put cameras in their place of business and watch their every move over months, I think that we could come up with footage that would show them to be about whatever we wanted to show, and that's exactly what this bill prevents. and I think it's good policy.
I do too. And Scott, I want to touch on also the wolf bill. You and I have visited about this also privately, and I'm just going to come out and say this, that the state of Idaho and all the people that have had to work for the restoration of the wolves, even though they didn't want them in the state of Idaho, we had agreed to 100 wolves, 10 breeding pair, and now the numbers can be skewed sometimes. They'll say 700, sometimes they'll say we're over 1,000 or maybe even 1,500. Regardless of that, we're way over the agreement. But yet the environmentalists always want more. They want their hands in our pockets, taking more of our money and more of our time. Why can't they adhere to an agreement of 10 breeding pair, 100 wolves?
Well, because that's never enough from them. It's always, it's regulatory creep. It's just them trying to get more and more control over the state of Idaho. It's as simple as that. And I am dismayed. I mean, not only did the environmental community welch on their deal, but the federal government did as well. Mm-hmm. And so this is Idaho stepping up and funding a wolf control program that gets that protects the wildlife herds and livestock when they come in danger. And I would commend the sportsmen's groups. They have committed money to a fund. The livestock groups have stepped up and committed money out of their brand inspections to go to this same fund. And then the state of Idaho will step up in even a larger way and provide the staff, the infrastructure, etc., to go out and get. The recovery limits are still the 10 breeding pair. That has not been changed. Yet the policies and the carrying out of this program has ballooned that number to much, many more than that. And this is us taking an affirmative step in moving it back to where, back to what the agreement said. Mm-hmm. And we'll do everything we can to make them live up to their end of the bargain.
Absolutely.
And that's full-time work because these people are a little slippery.
Absolutely. Now, there's another bill that caused a lot of concern and a lot of conversation, and that was the enhanced firearm carry bill. I don't think a lot of people really understood the bill in its entirety. Give us a quick synopsis and tell us about it.
Well, that's exactly right. I mean, this has been blown way, in my opinion, way out of proportion. Idahoans have, our Constitution, the state's Constitution is clear that, that the legislature has the ability to regulate who, when, and where you can carry concealed. And this doesn't include open carry. The legislature has we don't allow open carry in schools. We don't allow open carry in courtrooms or jails or juvenile detention centers, etc. We don't allow. We allow colleges and universities to set their own policy on that. And colleges and universities had said no guns on campus, period. Well, this bill carves out the ability for two classes of Idaho citizens. The first class is those that have an enhanced carry permit, and the second one are retired peace officers. And they are allowed to carry their weapon their concealed weapon on college campuses everywhere except for dormitories and public venues where there's a large group of people. Mm-hmm. And so this is not a backdoor to open carry on campus. I mean, these are the same laws that exist in Utah. and the courts put them into Utah and Colorado and your home state of Wisconsin. These are, the University of Wisconsin is not what we would call a bastion of conservative values, and ditto the University of Colorado at Boulder. But in those states and a whole list of other states, it's allowed. Those with enhanced carry permits are allowed to carry in certain parts on the campus. And so this is, the world didn't come to an end in Utah, nor Colorado, nor Wisconsin, or any of the other of the states that are on that list, and it won't come to an end here in Idaho or on our local colleges.
All right, now go ahead and finish your thoughts, Scott. Go ahead real fast.
Well, I mean, you and I, we are our own first responders, and so if and we and citizens that choose should be allowed to to protect themselves. Mm-hmm. And this doesn't, like I say, this doesn't open it up. This doesn't make it willy-nilly. It doesn't go the places that you and I both know are a bridge too far. But it does allow those two classes of citizens to carry on campuses, except for where it is restricted, and that's, of course, in dorms and public venues. So,
all right.
Anyway, no guns at football games.
There you go. Now, Scott, I'm going to sum this up by saying this. I'm going to give you, like a Clint Eastwood movie, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, give us, first of all, the good that you saw from the 2014 legislator. Go ahead and tell me the good that you saw from this year.
Okay, the good is the water legislation. That's the best.
Okay.
That's going to be a good thing for our part of the state for the future. Other good things is the public schools budget and the ag security bill. Mm-hmm. Those are the good ones I can think of right now.
All right, now give us the bad that happened in the legislative session.
The bad is this, and this may spill over into the ugly. We had a lot of demonstrations here this year. Mm-hmm. We've had college professors closing their classrooms and sending the kids over here to protest the guns on campus legislation. There's been a lot of demonstrations here on human rights and add the words, to use their term. Mm-hmm. That's been the bad, and at times it's gotten ugly. I mean, there was another 25 people arrested yesterday. They blocked. These are people that stand. They blocked the governor's office. You couldn't get in. He couldn't get in. He couldn't get out, etc. They've done that on the Senate side, etc. And that's so that's the bad and the ugly.
All right.
Like I say, I think we've been able to, for the most part, block a lot of the bad. I mean, and the ugly just doesn't make it through. That's one of the. We've got a good delegation here from the Magic Valley, and we all work together. And we tend to block the bad and the ugly. The ugly stuff happens is outside of our control.
Absolutely well stated. The good, the bad, the ugly, and of course always an open-minded and open discussion with Speaker of the House and Representative Scott Bedke. God bless you, my friend. Have a great day. I got to run, but come back and talk to us again real soon.
I will, and I hope that are you starting to feel better?
I'm healing up every day. As a matter of fact, I'm going to go out and try to get on my tractor later on today if I can.
All right, well.
I might not be able to get off my tractor, but I'm going to try to get on it.
Well, you be careful.
All right, Scott. God bless you. Thanks.
Bye.
Speaker of the House, Scott Bedke, on the program talking about the legislative session, and we appreciate all of his remarks. Hey, you know what? If you get hungry, you know where you can go? The Chadwick Sports Grill. This sounds so good to me. I am tempted to say to heck with my diet today because this sounds really phenomenal. Today, they're going to have a special of pulled pork burritos. Oh, I love that. With Spanish rice and beans and super salad. If I could just get that cheapskate Jack Euler to buy, it would be fantastic. Pulled pork burrito with Spanish rice and beans and super salad at a great place. The Chadwick Sports Grill, 139 West Main in Burley. Oh, they have wonderful food, great environment, really nice people. At the Chadwick in Burley, you stop in and see them today. That sounds good. Now, tell you what we're going to do next hour. We have my dear friend Jack Euler here. We're going to be talking about endangered species and what's going on with not only the sage grouse, but also the wolves and all the letters and the comments that are coming into various newspapers and publications from way out of this area. As a matter of fact, I got one here from Kentucky. I've got another one here from New York. And then we've got some of these completely off-the-wall people that really don't know what they're talking about, even from right here in the Magic Valley. We're going to have that discussion with Jack Euler coming up next half hour. Don't go away. Zeb at the Ranch. I'll be right back.
And now back to Zeb at the Ranch on AM 1230 KBAR. To reach Zeb, call 436-2244 or toll free 1-866-927-4587. And now, here is Zeb Bell.
Good morning. We're going to get right into it because we don't have a lot of time, and I want to say good morning to a very, very dear friend of mine that's been on this program I don't know how many times. Jack Euler, good morning.
My hair's got gray, and so's yours.
Oh, boy, has it ever. Listen, Jack, I want to get right into this thing. It seems to me, as much as I read, whether it's newspapers from outside of this area or whether it's newspapers here, we're seeing an unknowledgeable public, people in Kentucky, people back east of the Mississippi, even people in Oregon, the Portland area, etc., condemning us in Idaho for our stand against the wolves. Why do you suppose that is? Why won't they be open-minded enough to realize what kind of a killer predator we've got living right here by vast numbers in the state of Idaho?
Well, I've thought about that question a lot, and so I wrote an article that I've tried to get in the Times News. I gave it to him for a couple of days ago. I got a phone call on this article last night.
Now, has it been published already?
About 9:30. No,
okay.
This hasn't. And the comments to me was there was too many words. And I talk in here about the environmental groups and that they cannot live by agreements that they were part of making. And I talk about working with biologists in British Columbia. I talk about all these things, and the environmental groups, in answer to your question, the environmental groups will not stand up and say, we were part of the agreement when we accepted 100 wolves or 10 breeding pair, or when the state management plan was done. Suzanne Stone from up in the Haley was there at the table in this agreement, and they just keep saying we want more instead of 15 breeding pair or 150 per state, because each state has a state management plan that says that. And so, and the government is backing away from it. You got Carter Niemeyer, who was over the wolves, now is going to go to Washington and be over the wolf recovery efforts in Washington.
But if you have a signed agreement, you have an agreement of 10 breeding pair and 100 wolves. I mean, it's in black and white. It was agreed by both parties. Why? Why can they supersede an agreement and beg and demand more and get their way in the courts when you have an agreement? That doesn't make sense to me.
Because it is about one thing, and this is what I have come to the conclusion. It's about money. And it is only about money. And these groups, every time something happens that hits the paper, that we see in the paper, the wolves killed a bunch of elk, a bunch of deer, or they killed somebody's cattle, or they killed somebody's sheep. And I talked to Senator Sidaway a couple days ago about this very issue. And all these groups do when we start managing as per these agreements, they send out letters that say, make an emergency donation now. And it's all about money, Zeb. And I learned something yesterday, that the Defenders of Wildlife get $16 million a year out of our tax dollars to run their organization and to throw this down our throats.
How do they get the $16 million?
Through grants.
Through grant money that you and I
U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service in Washington, D.C.
The thing that bothers me, and I wanted to talk to you about it a little bit, is some of the people write some absolutely stupendously stupid letters, and they put the onus back on the livestock operator. And here's one that I'm sure you probably heard about. It was in the Capital Press newspaper the other day, and they said that farmers and ranchers need to put up exclusion fencing. They need to get guard animals. They need to have better herding practices. They need to have, and here's the one you're going to snicker at, night penning of all their livestock. And then they go into the farmer and rancher needs to buy fright tactics. And then they need to go into culling their herds and frequent checks. Well, let's go into these one at a time real quickly. First of all, everybody's got a guard animal. A lot of them have ended up dead because of the wolves. And then the cost of putting up all this, what they call exclusion fencing, and the herding and the night penning. Jack, these are absolutely frivolous and stupid things to say.
They're asinine. But do you hear anything about the horse in Haley that got killed?
Talk about that. Talk about
the
that.
2 dogs?
Yeah, talk about that a little bit. That was a horrendous happening.
That's right. I mean, it was a beautiful colt, and here he's got it in the pen, he's got it in the corral, but here it ends up dead. A wolf killed it.
Yeah.
And that happened this last month.
Yeah.
And no, we haven't heard anything about it. It hasn't hit the news.
And the wolf came back and got the dogs too.
Yes, the wolf came back and killed 2 of their dogs.
Yeah.
And people, what it's going to come down to is somebody getting killed by a wolf, which has happened in Canada many times, and Alaska, but it's got to happen right here, and it's got to happen in Blaine County, maybe to get them to talk.
The problem I'm seeing is that the squeaky wheels, which are the liberals and of course the animal rights groups and the Defenders of Wildlife, Sierra Club, etc., they seem to have an in with the media, so that no matter what the story about the spotted owls, whether it's about the little minnow in California, whether it's about the wolves here in the state of Idaho, they always seem to get the press, and we are always the bad guys wearing the black hats. How do we change this? Is it possible?
I don't know. Rocky Barker, Rocky Barker, I know Rocky Barker, and it's like I told this lady that called me 9:30 last night on this article. I said, if Rocky Barker's name was on the bottom of that, I says you would print the damn thing. But Rocky Barker's name isn't. It's Jack Euler on the bottom of it. And I said, it needs to be printed. And they told me it was too many words, but this is where we're at. We don't have access to the same media that everybody else has.
I agree.
And it's just like the things I got here about the Defenders of Wildlife or another group that say their mission is to be the defenders of the earth. Mm-hmm. Who anointed them?
Yeah, really. We have a caller with a question. Go ahead, please. You're on the air.
Well, a comment. I think the National Fish and Wildlife ought to be invited to stay out of Idaho. We need to pass a law that, Idaho will take care of Idaho's problems, and they can go somewhere where they're wanted.
It's a good comment. It's a good comment, sir, but it's never going to happen, and I'll have Jack answer that on the air. I would love to say the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service should take and let the door hit them in the posterior leaving Idaho, but it can't happen. I mean, we're just not in that position, are we?
No. I'm on the Sage Grouse Task Force for the governor. Last Friday, we had a meeting in Boise. It lasted from noon to 7 o'clock, and I mean, it was a long meeting. Now, there are 3 or 4 environmental groups on that, as well as U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service, Wildlife Services, and the Fish and Game, and BLM and Forest Service are sitting around there. They're supposedly watching what's going on, and U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service has got to accept everything that's done on this sage grouse. They're the one that's going to make the recommendation whether the sage grouse is listed or not. And I'm sitting by Tom Perry, who's Otter's lead attorney, and I said, I'm listening to these groups tell their story about this, and it is not about the bird. I'm listening to all of these people talk about their issues, but it isn't about saving the bird. It's about their niche and protecting their niche in Idaho or any other state or wherever it might be. They could care less about it. And I asked Tom, I said, Tom, I'm going to make a little bit of scene here because nobody is talking about protecting the bird. They're talking about protecting their niche.
Yeah.
And that's where it went downhill. But I got up and I said what I had to say.
But Jack, and I've got to do a weather forecast here in a second, but when you talk about the sage grouse, and you and I have talked about this privately off the air, it's so ambiguous to say that, oh, we got to save the sage grouse. Oh, my goodness sakes, this bird is endangered. And then they have a hunting season.
That's right. And you know what? I was on the radio. I suggested that the Fish and Game do away with hunting season. Show good faith. Let's show good faith as sportsmen. And Kelton Hatch and his son said they had to go hunting sage grouse. So that's the attitude of a lot of people, and they wouldn't do away with the season. I'm willing to go. I've been in so many of these meetings, that I'm willing to negotiate with them if they would negotiate in good faith, but they will not.
Okay, now the negotiation on the sage grouse issue, let's talk a little bit about this. We have seen the habitat factor, and the word habitat always come up, and then, of course, habitat burned up a couple of summers ago with some outstanding fires that absolutely ruined the habitat. But we know that the sage grouse can live in accordance and combined with livestock and grazing. And but why do these people with the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and environmentalists want to do so much to get us and others off the ground in honor of the sage grouse? It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't make any sense. And I know a rancher in Ruby Valley, Nevada, that is a fifth-generation rancher, and he has more documents to support what is going on with the sage grouse and when it started going downhill. And he told me that it started going downhill when they did away with 1080. Okay, what is 1080? That was part of the predator control for sage grouse.
Now you've touched on it, and I want you to hold that thought for a minute. I've got to get a weather in. But the ambiguity of trying to protect a species, be it the sage grouse or whatever, but not curtail the predators is absolutely asinine. We'll talk about that in just a second. Ladies and gentlemen, don't forget, here comes MichaelRogersWeather.com, brought to you this hour by Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome. Oh my goodness, it's time for tax return meat bundle. What's that? Well, you get 75 pounds of beef, pork, and chicken for only $250, cut the way you like it. And these folks are good. They've been serving Southern Idaho for over 20 years. Scarrows Meats, where they say they're selling taste one bite at a time, and it's the truth. Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, 324-7657. Here's Michael Rogers Weather.
Hello, everyone. Michael Rogers from MichaelRogersWeather.com, where every day is a good day. Some days better than others. Got some weather action today. A little bit of sun and clouds is going to turn into showers and taper off later for tonight. Get a break tomorrow, and looks like we're going to come out of it. Got a cold front coming through, but right now we're not going to get the brunt of it like some other folks to our north and to our east. So you're looking at temperatures just like yesterday, right around the upper 50s, overnight lows in the mid to upper 30s. Have a great day. Enjoy the weather. It's the only weather you got.
There you go. Thanks to Scarrows Meats, 331 North Road, Jerome, where they're selling taste one bite at a time. Jack, what about this? I mean, why isn't there more of a concentrated effort to look and say, okay, here we have a species, here we have the species predators, what can we do to curtail a lot of the death and the mayhem for that species? Well, naturally, I'd say let's go after the predators. What's happening there?
In Nevada, they are doing predator control. Wildlife Services is doing predator control, and it's by putting out poison nests. And in western Box Elder County, they're doing the same thing. And it's all being done through the county commissions in those areas. We even have an Indian tribe that has signed on to this in Nevada. And that might help us save that bird from being listed, is having this Indian tribe. But what is going on is these things are happening, but is Idaho doing this? No.
Well, why not? Why aren't the two biggest ag counties in the state, be it Twin Falls and Cassia County, why aren't they doing something?
I tried to get the Cassia County Commission on board with this, and one of the Elko County commissioner was there and gave a spiel on it, and they haven't signed on to this thing. And what these counties have done is put up $25,000, and they're doing it through a biologist. With the biologist is with Deseret Land and Livestock, and it's all being done above board and the way it should be. But when in this meeting last Friday, when I said predator control and predation needed to be farther up on Idaho's list, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the guy from Idaho Power said no.
Why did they say no quickly? We got a caller.
They said no because they don't like killing predators.
Oh, my goodness sakes. Caller, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Brad. This is Doug Pickett calling. I appreciate you having Jack on. I'm the Cassia County Federal Lands Advisory Group chairman, and I just wanted to let you and Jack know that we're setting something up with Grant Gerber of Elko County for later this month or early in April to have him come and present his pilot project to our county.
Good.
And we're looking forward to seeing if we can integrate that into our efforts here with the local sage-grouse population. And I just want to thank Jack for his hard work and efforts. Anybody that's been to a 7-hour meeting over issues like this, that's as hard a day work as you'll find anywhere. And there's a lot of time and toil and sweat going into these efforts from the local interests, and I appreciate all he's done. And I'll let you take it from there. Thank you.
All right. Before you go, I would like to say thank you for the phone call, and I would like to receive a invitation to that meeting when it comes, because I have been dealing with Grant Gerber for about 2 years.
Yes, Jack, you're more than welcome. We'll definitely do that.
All right.
Appreciate that.
Doug, thank you for your call. It meant a lot. I appreciate that. Thank you. Grant Gerber has done, and by the way, Grant Gerber's a friend of mine. I've known him for years and years. He's a lawyer down in Elko, Nevada, and he's been very outspoken about the Endangered Species Act and how it's absolutely ruining Western America. And you've got some power on the plus side for us, the people that want to use the land and keep using the land. But you know, when I talk to people, Jack, and I'm not trying to sound negative to you, you and I have talked about this privately, it almost seems like the government already has made up their mind and all of this is just frivolity. Would you agree?
I asked this question to Grant Gerber in his office here a while back. I said, Grant, is what we're doing to try and save that bird from being listed going to do it, or is it going to be listed? And he just looked at me, he says, Jack, it's going to be listed.
But yet we can't give up. We can't give up. Now, I want to go back to the wolves just for a second, Jack, because it also goes under the name management. You know, the numbers have varied. In every newspaper you pick up, I don't care if it's you reading the story or if it's me reading the story, you'll see the examples range from Idaho has 650 wolves, Idaho has 800 wolves, Idaho has 1,000 wolves, Idaho has 1,500 wolves. We have a caller with a question. Caller, stand by just for a second. Give me a short answer on this. Why is there such a variance on the numbers of these wolves?
Because they move so fast and far and quick, and nobody really knows how many. And when we have laws that state we can't go into the Frank Church Wilderness area and land a helicopter to tag or put a collar on a wolf pack, that's why we cannot have a definite number or close to a definite number, because that's why I'm against these designations for the Frank Church and the one up north that they're pushing now.
Yeah.
You know, this is going to kill us.
Yep. Okay, caller, quickly. I'm almost out of time.
Okay. This is about the birds. You know, to me, it seems kind of like global warming, because the birds have been around for thousands and thousands of years, through all the fires, through all the predators, and through everything. And they've had ups and downs. And I've been here when they've been thousands and thousands. You couldn't drive down the road without running over one. But anyhow, I'll hang up.
You know, it's a fair comment. I think what he's trying to say, and he said it very appropriately, is that everything is cyclical. Everything is proven to be cyclical in this world, and what might be down now will be up in numbers later on.
That's right. And there's two areas down in Nevada that are wildlife management areas. They're both about 500,000 acres, and they've taken grazing off from there with cattle and sheep, and they've taken all the fences out, and there are no sage grouse.
Okay. Jack, I've got to pay some bills here real quick, and then we'll wrap it up. And I want to say thanks to those folks for calling in. Excellent questions. Spring tire sale at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. You be sure and stop in and see any one of the 7 locations today. And like I mentioned, oh boy, they got that Ultra Z900. The best all-season touring tire. It's on sale. Over 20% more tread life, outstanding wet and dry traction, quieter riding tire. It's on sale right now. Big spring tire sale at your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. All 7 locations with the best of tires, front-end alignment, shocks and struts, batteries, brake service. It's all there. Lane and Rupert, Dave on Blue Lakes and Twin, Mike and Buell, Mike and Jerome, the Twist family and Paul, John on Poline in Twin Falls, and Randy on Overland and Burley, your Magic Valley Les Schwab Tire Centers. Hey, Sportsman for Fish and Wildlife, 12th Annual Magic Valley Chapter Banquet and Fundraiser. When's it going to be and where, Jack?
Well, it's going to be March 15th, which is a week from Saturday at Canyon Crest, and I would just like to invite people out. We are going to have some special guests there. Scott Bedke sent his ticket in. I hope he can be there.
Okay.
But we look forward to seeing everybody there, and we have a very good event every year.
Jack, quickly, we are almost out of time, unfortunately. We could go on and on for this, but you have dedicated your life, literally, to when this wolf issue came up as a major problem on the restoration of wolves here in the state of Idaho. You fought it, but yet you were amenable enough to agree that once the feds got involved, the numbers of the wolves had to be implemented. We couldn't possibly keep fighting to keep them away, and you were one of the people that made the agreement, yes, let's go with 10 breeding pair and 100 wolves. You've seen everything shattered at your feet. Quickly, and I've only got about a 30-second answer here. What are your thoughts? Are you kind of discouraged after all these years?
Yes, but is there anybody else up there fighting? I took Don Scarrow with me last week to the legislature. We were up there all day on some issues, on the wolf issue and on some other issues, and I told Don, I said, tell me how many sportsmen you see up here fighting for their interests today. On the way home, I asked Don, I says, how many sportsmen did you count up there fighting for the issues? He said 2. There was you and I.
Oh, my.
And that's why That's why we're losing everything, Zeb. People are not standing up. That's why we're losing our Constitution. That's why we're losing our education system. That's why we're losing the right to religious freedom in this country. I mean, we don't stand up for ourselves.
Amen. Jack, I just absolutely love you to death and everything you're trying to do. God bless you. Thanks for being on the show. Jack Euler, a dear friend of mine from Filer, Idaho, and he has been standing up. He just wants others to stand with him. We're going to be back again tomorrow morning, tomorrow being Thursday. Don't forget, we've got all kinds of folks, and we're going to have a special guest at 10:30 tomorrow, Randy Hardy, talking about the United States potato, and you don't want to miss a minute of it. It's going to be a fun day tomorrow. Zeb at the Ranch, starting at 8:06. God bless. The way things were, the way things ought to be. We'll see you tomorrow morning.